Hey, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Mid-Level Media channel, your hub for everything physical media and entertainment. I am Ken, and today, guys, I am so excited because this is episode 56 of World's Biggest Collectors, and this is the first ever episode where we expand outwards of North America and we go to Australia to talk to Collector Creations. And we had a really interesting, fascinating conversation about physical media in Australia. And we didn't just talk about Disney, but we did talk about the Disney situation a little bit. Now, keep in mind, this was recorded 3 weeks ago before all the Marvel TV show steelbooks were announced, before The Mandalorian was announced, before Prey was announced. So we don't get into any of that in this interview, but it did happen right after Disney made the decision to pull physical media out of Australia. So we get into all of that. He gives his thoughts and perspective on all that as a big Star Wars and Marvel fan himself. And it was just a really great, fascinating conversation. I definitely learned a lot about the Australian collecting mindset. So it was super cool for me. And yeah, this is just a great, I keep hyping it up. This is a great episode, guys. Listen to the entire thing. It's 2 hours long. And yeah, I'm excited to share it with you guys. Episode 56 with Collector's Creation. Let's go. All right, welcome everybody back to World's Biggest Collectors. This is episode 57, and I am here with Collector's Creation. This is Julian. So what's up, man? How you doing? I'm excited to have you on because you are my first ever Australian guest.
Yeah, no, it's I'm nervous.
Oh, are
But
you?
I'm over. I mean,
I'm
well,
always nervous, so
I
and
don't do it, man.
scatterbrained and all over the place.
I've done a lot of interviews that I filmed, but I've never been on the receiving end before. And I'm like, this is what I've always dreamed of. But I'm also like,
Yeah. And
but
you're,
no, it's cool.
I think you're what, 14 hours behind me? So
Well,
it's
it's
10
currently
o'clock where I'm
yeah,
at right now,
it's
10
it's it's
p.m.
12 p.m. on a Friday for me, and yeah, 10
Okay,
o'clock
so
on a
you're
Thursday
you're
for you.
14 hours ahead of me then. So
Yeah,
you're in the future right now. You're on
yep,
Friday and I'm on Thursday. So that's kind of fun.
yeah,
But yeah, man, I wanted to have you on. Of course, there's an issue in Australia right now with physical media and Disney, so we're going to dive into that a little bit as well, and
mm,
just get an idea of you as a collector, your history, and all that stuff. How you got into content creation on YouTube and stuff. We'll probably get into as well. But yeah, I'm excited to have you on as the, I'll say, first ever non-North American guest on World's Biggest Collectors. And I always get a lot of crap in the comments. You're like, Ken, you always have people on in North America or in the US. It's like, when are you going to branch out? So I'm finally
mm.
trying to do that and live up to the World's Biggest Collectors name here
Yeah.
at
Well,
episode 57.
yeah. That's cool. I
But
mean, I don't think I have the biggest collection, but I definitely have a collection.
I don't know, man. You look like you have a pretty damn sizable collection back there. Well, we'll get into that as well. But before we do that,
Mm,
man, I'm going to give you the opportunity to kind of sell yourself and your channel real quick to the audience. Let them know what you do over there and
yeah,
why they should come subscribe. And I have all your links down below in the description.
yeah,
Your YouTube and whatever else you want me to link down there. We'll talk about it after. But
yeah,
go
of
ahead.
course. Yeah, well, I'm Julian. I call myself Collector Creations. I was previously Telecreations, so a lot of my older videos go by that name. Um, I've been doing this channel since I was in high school, like 7, 8 years ago, back in
Oh,
2016.
damn.
Yeah, initially was I like doing films, I like doing podcast stuff that's more like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy scripted stuff, but then it evolved into I like getting Blu-rays, I like talking about films, and it's just over the years rambled into, oh look, physical media channel. So that's my peak of what I've done for content, at least, outside of the occasional interview, random vlog stuff about my life or whatever, and yeah, just talking about films, reviewing them occasionally. So
Yeah.
that's my gist basically in
Yeah,
terms of the
you
channel.
gotta, from what I've seen, and I just discovered your channel this week, like,
Mm,
back 5 days ago. I think it was on
trust me,
Sunday.
about a
So,
hundred odd people are in your boat.
so you definitely have a great channel though, and a good, good content, good flow of videos. You seem pretty consistent, and I would definitely
Yeah,
encourage everybody to go subscribe to Julian's channel for sure. Again, your link is will be down below in the description.
Hmm.
But let's get into the size of your collection real quick. And I always like to ask people the state of their physical media collection right now. Um, how many do you have in your collection? Everybody wants to know
Wow.
this answer. They don't care about
I've,
anything else we talk about unless I just have to. I have to get the number.
I
And then they're
imagine we'll be
good.
in the same boat of having that Blu-ray.com app asking the same question, and I'm still getting phone calls in the middle of the day. Leave me alone. Love spam numbers.
Yeah.
So according to my Blu-ray.com app, I have 1,958 Blu-rays, which
Oh,
involves
really?
another 364 Ks and 21 3D Blu-rays, not to mention
Nice.
the 1,000 odd DVDs I have that I don't scan onto my phone. So
So a good
yeah,
amount in the
and,
collection. And yeah,
and that's just
so
Blu-rays. That's not even like obviously like
how many
box sets
DVDs
are
would you
one.
say you have?
Uh, I'd probably say maybe 500 to 800, maybe. I don't know. We've collected those since DVD started being released in Australia. Like most of it's my dad's, whereas
Yeah,
I've got maybe 10% of the DVD collection, maybe 20.
yeah,
But the Blu-ray collection is, I'd say, 95% mine in terms of purchasing. 98% probably.
yeah,
But of course, even some of those are like sets where it's like, say, Nightmare on Elm Street, it's one barcode, but it's 8 films or whatever. So it's like, I
yeah.
have to tally that into it, but yeah, that's the gist.
Do you have, I don't know, again, I'm gonna be completely ignorant to everything that you might have in your collection or have collected in the past because I don't know all the
No,
di
that's
I know
fair.
a few labels in Australia, obviously, like
Mm.
Umbrella and Imprint and stuff, but did you all get this Nightmare on Elm Street box set back here on DVD? Is that the one you have in your collection?
I just have the standard Blu-ray release from Australia, which
Okay,
where is
you
it?
have the
No,
Blu-ray release.
it actually it's right
I
next
didn't
to
know
me.
if you had
That's
that
crazy.
DVD set. We got this big
I just
box
have
back
a
in the day.
Blu-ray set.
Yeah,
It's
that's
just
the same thing we got. It's the exact
one
same thing.
case. It's so
And it's
nice.
like how many discs is in there? 3 discs. You get the I think it's
Uh,
2 films per disc or some BS.
I've got it's 4 Blu-ray discs and 1 DVD disc, which is a documentary. So that's not too
Now is
bad.
Nightmare on Elm Street a sore spot over there in Australia? Is it a pretty popular, horror franchise? Are people waiting for, like, a good box set of those movies
Oh, I
like
mean,
they
I'd
are over
imagine
here?
so. I mean, given how we don't really, Nightmare on Elm Street's a pretty easy one in terms of just the like in terms of the basic set. It's like you can still get it at retailers and whatnot, but like
Yeah,
contrast that to like the Halloween films, it's completely different. Like Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street are pretty easy to get. Friday gets every couple of years gets a new release, or even if it's the same transfers.
yeah,
Whereas Halloween is like that's pretty difficult to get on Blu-ray.
oh,
DVD's easy
really?
to get, but Blu-ray is pretty hard. So, I mean, I've imported Scream Factory releases for that reason. So,
Yeah,
but yes,
everybody over here is chomping at the bit, ever since we got that Scream Factory Friday the 13th set to get a
yes, I
Nightmare
have
on
that.
Elm Street version of it, and
I know I've got the
yeah,
Friday the 13th set as well, and I'm like, I love this. It's beautiful. So
yeah. So
that's
you
nice.
do collect, Scream Factories and other stuff, you just import it over there?
Yeah, for the most part, I'll like even if I just go to because we've only got JB Hi-Fi in Australia as like the main retailer, and I'll like go there and be like, okay, I want this film, I want this film. If there's a sale, I might pick stuff up, but for the most part, I'll look at it and be like, what other options are there online? Like, is there a different version? Like, uh, there was a Cronenberg film that had come out in like the mid 2000s that they had on Blu-ray in Australia, and it was like it's an umbrella release, it's fine. But then they had a Kino release which had like just come out, which was like a 4K UHD, and I'm like, well, I'll get that one instead because it's a
Yeah,
4K, it's a new transfer, it looks better, it's a bit more expensive, but it's like it's a better package as an overall. So I
yeah.
do that quite often. Yeah.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
So I did wanna start us off just talking about the whole Disney and Australia situation. Were you a
Mhm.
big, collector of the Marvel films and Star Wars films? Like, how much is this going to impact you? Are you more or
Ugh.
less just kind of a casual collector and you just don't like the idea of not being able to get something?
Well, I'm into oh god, it's hard to let's see. Star Wars and Marvel, I've loved since like conception. Like I grew up with the VHS
Yeah,
of Star Wars. I've had DVD, Blu-ray, 4K releases. Conveniently, I don't really care much to get anything else that they release because I'm pretty content with what I've got. Like I don't know if they'll have any. I mean, unless Andor comes out on 4K, which it probably won't. I won't. I'll just stick to Disney Plus basically, which conveniently my girlfriend pays for. So I kind of people
yeah,
yell at me for that.
And I mean,
Um,
that feels like at this point, that's what they want you to do. It's
yes, yeah,
it's like, yeah,
definitely.
you all are losing Disney physical media, but at this point, it's like,
Mm.
what kind of a loss is that really? Because they're not
Yeah,
doesn't feel
I
like they wanna do too much
it
anymore at
definitely
all.
seems like some people don't realize how big Disney is as a brand because it's not just like you get, like you said, Marvel
Yeah.
and Star Wars and the Disney animated or live
They
action
got
features.
everything now.
They've got Fox and they've got all these other brands. It's like, oh no, this is like a lot of stuff. So it's a lot more. And that's a lot more people are angry that Disney has like bought up Fox and stuff because they're also hardly releasing any of their films on physical media. So
Yeah.
it's really a frustrating in that regards. So, I mean, I've spent the past week just buying a lot of classic Disney animated features just because of special features alone. Because a lot of the releases don't have special, like Disney Plus don't do special features. They're just a regular streaming platform. Like you might get the films on 4K, but you're not going to get any commentary tracks or behind the scenes documentaries, which I always love looking at. So I've
Yeah.
spent quite a bit of money. Just, I mean, they've all been pretty cheap, like 8-9 Australian dollars per Blu-ray, which is actually pretty goddamn good. But yeah, so I've been spending the past week doing that. But
Which is
yeah,
kinda strange because you would think that if they wanted people to, sign up for their service and it to feel a little bit more legitimate, like you're getting your money's worth, all the special features, because I think Guardians is supposed to have, like, 7 or 8 special features or something. Like, they
yeah,
would just lump those on Disney Plus too. I don't get why they wouldn't put those on there.
yeah, it's very strange. Like, I mean, especially because Disney own all of the, well, for the majority, I would say, of the content that's on their actual platform. It's like contrast that to the Criterion Collection, which their channel, for the most part, has extra features. Like some films come as
Yeah.
bundles, so you can watch like, oh, here's The Brood, and there's an interview with Bill Hader, and it's like, oh, cool. Like they've just got that stuff there. Not all the time, but for the most part, they do, and that's usually
And those
from
are
their
extras that aren't
releases.
even on the discs
Yes, on the
sometimes?
occasion, because they do little interviews of actors and whatever, but a lot of the stuff they'll have that's like, here's an audio commentary and whatever, and that's cool that they have that on the Criterion channel, but I usually bode for their physical releases anyway, unless I want to save a couple extra bucks because I'm still spending $16 to $18 a
Yeah.
month on the Criterion collection because it's US, so it's, you know, extra fees for like it being an international service and stuff. So that's the only streaming service I actually pay for. So
Is the
contrast
Criterion.
to,
Yeah, I've never gotten
yeah.
the human service, because like, most of the Criterion stuff, I feel like if I want it, I'll just add it to the collection at some point, but
Yeah.
I forget that they have a bunch of different movies on there that probably aren't even on physical disc yet.
Yeah, I mean, they've got stuff that is, they've got stuff that isn't. Occasionally, I'll be like I accidentally watched a Godzilla film that I realized I had on physical from their set that was like on the channel. I was like, oh, I'll watch this
I
one,
do
but then I realized
that
I've seen
often
it
because
and I
I'll find
haven't.
myself doing that often to where
Yeah.
I'll be on the couch and I'll be like, "Oh, this is on streaming." I know I have it, but I'm just
Hmm.
gonna watch it on streaming because 'cause I'm right here and I don't wanna get up.
Yeah.
Uh,
I think because I only allocate like a one day a week to watch the Criterion channel because it's like the films that are going to be artistic and going to be like really tense, or like just stuff that you value more as film. Like I watched Dog Day Afternoon the other day on the channel because I was like, well, I don't
it's a
have a
great
Blu-ray
movie.
release and no one's home. I can use that time to watch this 2 hour thriller. I'll do that, you know. Like I'd done
Yeah,
Scanners and The Brood the week before, even though I have a Blu-ray release of Scanners, which is a standard UK release. I don't have The Brood, which still has a Criterion release, but it's like $50 to get it imported. I'm like, well, I'm spending
yeah,
$16. Why not just watch it on the channel? You know, it's there. I
yeah,
can do that. Yeah. So
absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely. I do understand, there's some people that I know that are, like, strictly physical, they
Mm.
don't wanna stream at all, but I feel like both can kinda coexist
Yeah,
and work off
I'm
of each
very
other for
open-minded
sure.
with it. Like we've got if I've got friends who like to do group watches on like Friday nights, so we're like, oh well, film is only on Stan. Let's like subscribe to it for a month, and then every Friday we'll watch something that's on Stan. And then same as Binge or Paramount Plus, like I'll like seasonally I'll subscribe to stuff like that.
Yeah,
Like with Criterion Channel, I'll even pause it every couple of months just because I'm like, well, I want to focus on the physical media stuff I have. I'll watch that. I'll focus on that before I go back to watching the channel again. So the only one that my family, because my parents pay for Netflix and we're on the same household, so that one I can just watch Netflix whenever. But I don't even remember the last time I watched Netflix. So
yeah, I've been
they
thinking
do it
about
every night. So you know, but
yeah,
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've been thinking about canceling Netflix just because I don't watch it as much as I used to,
Mm.
feels like. But what are the main streaming services you all have over there? Is it Netflix, Disney Plus?
Yeah, there's Stan, which is like an Australian exclusive. Binge
Okay.
as well, which is basically what you guys have. Well, Max now, apparently, the
Okay.
HBO service.
Yeah, the
We've got it as
HBO Max,
Binge.
yeah.
Yeah, so we've got it as Binge, which is pretty
Do
good.
you
So I
have
was able to
Tubi,
watch. I think we
the
can
free streaming
access.
service?
I'm pretty sure we can access it here as well. Like Criterion Channel, I was only able to get through a VPN to sign up for it, which was
Yeah.
annoying. But yeah, yeah,
Tubi
those are
has a
the
lot
only.
of great movies on it, but it also has a lot of, like, the trash horror
Mm,
movies that, like, Vinegar Syndrome puts out and Arrow
yeah,
Video and places like that, so you can find a lot
yeah.
of those on there.
I've never subscribed to it, but I've never really needed to. I've got enough trash horror films here for the most
Absolutely,
part.
absolutely.
Um, yeah, I think there's my brother has Plex, which is kind of a streaming service. I mean, it's one of those services that you can upload your own stuff to, and if someone has a server, you can watch it through there. So it's a weird one. It's technically pirating, but at the
Yeah,
same
I've
time,
heard
it's
of that
like
one, I
I
just
don't know.
haven't dove into it. Uh,
Yeah.
but getting back to the whole Disney, thing, are you going to buy Guardians 3?
I probably will because I mean I most likely will as it is because I like the film. I like the Guardians films. I don't care for Marvel anymore. Like personally, I've grown tired of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, same
Um,
here, same here.
so I think for most of us, we were like, I mean, I'm on Twitter a
Endgame
lot,
was,
so
like, the peak, and after
yeah,
that, it
it's like that
just
felt like the finale, and then it's like,
yeah.
well, here's the finale for the Guardians, which only doesn't work if you haven't seen Thor: Love and Thunder and the Christmas special, and I don't want to watch either of them again. So yeah,
Yeah.
like
I never
I
watched the Christmas special, I never watched that.
it was on
I
Disney
dipped
Plus, so
out
I'm
on
like,
all the
it's only
TV shows. After
yeah.
Falcon and Winter Soldier, I was pretty much done. Well, no, I think I watched Loki, that was the last one I watched, and
I haven't watched Secret Invasion, but I did watch Miss Marvel, which I thought was I liked the first two episodes, but I didn't care for the rest of the show because became the standard. Oh, she has to fight a villain that's basically the same as her. I'm like, I don't care. The first two
yeah.
episodes were fun, and then like it just became a different show after that. I'm like, I don't know what happened. The visual style's gone. Every fun flair has just vanished. Um, and then there was I did watch She-Hulk though, which despite everyone hating
That's
on it,
yeah, I
I
had so many
watched
people saying horrible
I
things
watched the
about it.
first episode with my brother, and we were like, "This is bad." But then I watched the second episode. I'm like, "Hey, this is actually kind of funny." And then I just watched the rest of the show. I'm like, "I actually kind of liked it." I thought it like, stepping
Well,
back
yeah,
from the
it's like
this is
if
what
you can, like, allow
Marvel.
yourself to get into, like, the tone of a show or a
Mm.
movie, like, sometimes you just have to find the tone that they're going for and then just lean into it with them,
Yeah.
and then you
Like, I
can
knew
enjoy
to
it.
enjoy it because I'm like, I'd seen the scene of her twerking. I'm like, that seems a bit weird. But then you watch it in context, and it's like, actually, that's kind of a really funny punch because it's like it's the punchline to a gag that's set
Yeah,
up throughout the whole episode. Like, it does work in context. It still looks weird, but it's funny, and I
yeah,
enjoyed it for that. So the first episode being here's the what is the forced origin story stuff, and I'm like, I don't care for any of this. I don't think anyone does. But then the rest of the show was its own thing, and I like that. Obviously, as a
yeah,
lawyer show, not good. But I just come
yeah,
off Better Call Saul, so it's like I can understand Marvel not knowing how to do a lawyer show. But
yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Well, now where are you at on Star Wars right now? Are you pretty much in the same boat as you are with
Um,
Marvel, or are you more into the Star Wars universe?
well, I've grown up with Star Wars, but I've never, I mean, outside of Rise of Skywalker, I've never disliked any of their films because
Yeah, that
I
was
have the
horrible.
burden of
That
the
killed
prequel.
my Star Wars love.
Yeah, I've got the prequel nostalgia. Like, I like them in a fashion, but I also think they're bad films. So it's like I've got
Well, you
subjective and
said
objective
you
taste.
were in high school 8 years ago, so you're still
Yeah,
fairly young
yeah,
then.
the prequels were coming out when I was both not born and then born. So
Yeah,
by the time the third
I
one
was
had come out,
14 when the first prequel came out, The Phantom
yeah,
Menace. So I
I
enjoyed
didn't
it. I
exist.
enjoyed it at 14 and then
Yeah,
16, and then I think Revenge of the Sith is a legitimately good Star Wars movie.
yeah, I enjoyed it
Um,
as a film as well. Yeah,
so
the other
I
two,
got
it's like,
nostalgia for them all, especially
yeah.
now considering like what we've gotten with the new movies. I
Look,
appreciate them a lot more.
mm. I
Um,
mean, I still like the new trilogy. It's just, I mean, I like Force Awakens in the
yeah.
fashion of it's fun, but I don't care as much for it being a clone of New Hope, even though I
I
hate
loved
calling it
it when
New
I
Hope.
first saw it. It
Yeah,
just I liked The
it's
Last Jedi too when I first saw it, and then the Rise of Skywalker just kind of took the
Yeah,
wind out of my
I think the
sails for that
backwards
whole
effect of that has
trilogy.
definitely ruined it, 'cause I still love The Last Jedi. A lot of people don't, I understand it, but I'm like, I
Yeah,
really like it. It's not perfect, but I really like it, but Rise of Skywalker is just like, nah. And I thought I was gonna be done with Star Wars after that, but then they did Andor, and my friend was like, "You gotta watch Andor. It's really like, it's
yeah.
actually a good show." And I'm like, "I'll check it out." And I'm like, "This is
Everybody keeps
actually a
telling me
genuinely
that,
good
and I'm
show."
like, I'm just done with it all.
It
I
doesn't
don't want
feel
to.
like Star Wars though, that's the great thing, like,
Yeah.
it's not like, "Here are Jedis, here's Skywalker," it's like, no, here's just
I watched the
stuff that
first
just
2
happens.
episodes of Obi-Wan, and I just couldn't do
Oh,
it. I don't know.
yeah.
I just couldn't
I've
do it
forced
anymore.
myself through that show,
I'm
and I'm
like, "You
like,
guys
"This
are
is."
killing this whole thing
It's
for me."
yeah.
I liked the first 2 seasons of The Mandalorian, I really did.
I enjoyed the
And
first season a lot, but
I didn't
yeah,
even get into the 3rd one.
I didn't bother with it, especially
Um,
after Boba Fett. I was like, "I'm good."
yeah,
I don't
Boba
think I wanna
Fett,
waste my time.
I was out after, I think, 3 episodes of that, and then everybody's like, "Well, it gets good at episode 5."
It
I'm
doesn't get
like,
good,
"I
it's a
don't
different
care."
show, it's about a different character
They're like, "The
now. It's
Mandalorian comes back?" I like, "Well, it sounds like they did The Mandalorian season 3 and Boba Fett." And then
mm,
Mandalorian season 3 comes out, and I'm like, "Okay, so I gotta go watch Boba Fett to watch this show. I'm done with this crap."
yeah.
I'm not doing it anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I weirdly still liked, like, parts of the Boba Fett that were him with the Tusken Raiders. I didn't care for him as a gang lord stuff, so it's like there are elements of the show I liked, but
Yeah.
there are elements of the show I disliked, and then it became, "Oh, now it's just The Mandalorian season 2.5," and I'm like, sure, I guess." It's just weirdly convinced me to not watch season 3 because there were, like, no stakes anymore. It's, "Oh, is he gonna get Grogu back?" He does. "Is he gonna keep the sword?" He does. It's just I don't really care about
Yeah.
all the stakes. It's gone for me. So,
Yeah, and from what I've heard
yeah.
about that 3rd season, I'm not missing too much, so
Yeah, no,
I'm
I
good.
watched, like, my mate was like, "You gotta watch the last scene, it's ridiculous," and I watched the last scene, it just ends, and it's like, "Oh, okay." It's ridiculous in the element of it doesn't set up a future season, it's just, what if the show just ended? Kind of. Like, they could continue it if they want, but yeah,
Yeah.
so I'm like, I didn't bother with it. Haven't
Yeah.
bothered with most Marvel after She-Hulk, like, I didn't watch Secret Invasion, I don't even remember what else has come out.
Ant-Man, which was very
Oh,
forgettable.
I mean, I was forced myself to watch them in cinema because my friend wanted
Yeah.
to, and yet ironically, with
Yeah.
both Thor and Ant-Man, he fell asleep. So,
Yeah. I mean, I got kids. My son just turned 13, so he's into this stuff right now.
yeah,
So I'll go with him and he enjoys them. So,
yeah.
I
I mean,
try to
it
muster
clearly
up the
still has its
excitement to go
yeah, it
just
still
for
has its
him.
audience for, I mean, they're still kids films, so is Star Wars
Yeah.
inherently they're kids films, so it's like,
Yeah.
I have that understanding. So, that's why I'm not overly like, how dare you ruin my childhood?" I'm like, "I don't care. They're
Yeah.
just movies, I can still rewatch them and enjoy them whenever I want?"
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, with Disney pulling out Australia, do you think that that will continue with other studios? Do you see that happening more on a large scale?
Well, I've gotten a very large variety of comments on that video, and which is just a shock to me. The fact that I've gotten, I mean, I know it's only like 3.5K views, and for probably someone like yourself, that's not an overly large amount. But for me, it's like that's insane for a video
Yeah, I
that
mean, you
I
must have
didn't
hopped on
expect.
some trending and stuff because that's
I
why you
mean,
showed up. It's like, soon as I
yeah.
pulled my home screen up, like, you were on there, so
I mean, my title was very dramatic. The death of physical media. It's like, look, I just
that's
like
how you
doing
have to
that.
do it.
That's just fun for me. I like being dramatic with
Yeah,
that. But it's a
yeah.
series I'm
It
doing
was a good
talking
video,
about.
though. It was a very good video.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't like doing it for the element of I don't like that this is happening, but it was like I need to do this. This is like important stuff, and so especially because there was a lot of Australian fans who didn't know about it. I even went to JB like the next day to buy a bunch of Disney films, and the person who worked there didn't know that this was happening. So I
Yeah,
was the one telling them like, yeah, no, Disney's pulling out, and they've been working with selling DVDs and Blu-rays for 25 years, and Disney had never done such a thing. So I think it's limited to Disney. Um, they're the only ones that seem to be wanting to do this. I know that Warner Brothers have their Discovery Network, whatever streaming service in the US, but they don't have that here, so they don't have the reason to do it. Not to
yeah.
mention they're still doing their 100th anniversary releases of whatever their label is, so
Do you
they
still
don't
get a good
seem.
amount of their stuff as well?
Yeah, no, we've gotten basically everything the US has gotten, which is nice. We've just basically not gotten Blu-ray discs for most of them. They've just been, here's just a 4K disc, and that's
Well,
about it.
they're doing that here too. Yeah, they've
Yeah, that
started to do
I
that.
don't like that. Like if they have the old disc even if it's with an old transfer, if it's got special features, I'm
Yeah.
happy to watch that. But if it's
I've got the
yeah,
Enter the Dragon 4K right
mm,
here, and it's just the 4K
yeah, I've
that's
got the
coming out.
Criterion release that they had of those, so I'm pretty happy with those for now. I didn't bother
Yeah.
with getting the Arrow video set, which apparently was like exceptionally damaged upon
Yeah.
arrival. I'm like,
Everybody's
I
going
don't
nuts
bother
over
with
that.
those sets until there's a sale. So it's like we'll see how that goes. But yeah,
Yeah.
we're getting that same release in Australia too. But weirdly, without the 100 logo, we're not getting that, which is interesting.
A lot of people don't like that logo, and they say it kinda
No,
I think
I'm
it
not
works with
surprised.
some of the covers, but some of them it doesn't. Like Evil Dead Rise came out over here with a big
Mm,
100th anniversary banner over the I was like, "This just doesn't work. The gold
yeah.
with this, it's too bright."
There's always a lot of stuff like we get in Australia. We have I mean, here's with Nightmare on Elm Street, we've got like the MA rated sticker, and that can be really annoying on some releases because we got Avatar on 4K recently, and the slipcover has the M sticker on it. I'm like, why would they do that on a
Yeah.
slipcover? Like, I can understand it being on the inside cover. I can understand it being like shrink wrap it, put a sticker on it. That's what Imprint does. They don't ruin their artwork with the rated logos. They put it on the shrink wrap, and then
Yeah.
you don't see any of that stuff for the rest of the set, which is nice. But nah, the avatars just let's just ruin this artwork by putting a label on it, and it's just like I don't need that. So
Yeah, that's what
yeah,
I was gonna ask you too. Do people care about that kind of thing at large in Australia? Because UK does it too, but like, yeah,
mm.
I don't like those like little stickers down the corner as well. Because
I've
I've gotten a few Australian releases before like
yeah,
that.
I've got a friend who's very particular about it. He is like, if I'm gonna make a collection, it's gonna be Australian stickers only. He doesn't like importing from the UK because they have different region code stickers. Well,
Yeah.
not region code, it's
'Cause I'm
certification
sure
classification
if
stuff.
that's the only thing you know or that you collect, then you just become
Mm.
acclimated to it at some point.
He's just very particular about the way his shelf looks. Whereas if you look at mine, I'm very much not particular about how my
Yeah.
shelf looks. It's all kinds of labels and brands and stickers. But it's not great that they have it on the front cover. I'm okay with it being on the spine, the back cover, which is fine because again, they match it with the back cover by explaining what it actually says. So why not just put that there, and then I don't have to worry about it. But some of
Yeah.
them are really ugly though. I think I've got Galaxy Quest, and like the majority of the cover just looks like it's that because it's like you got three aliens on the base, and here's one of them covered with a whole entire sticker. It's just
God,
they're
that's
all different
horrible.
sizes too. Some of them are regular size, some of them are bigger, some of them are smaller. There's no consistency. It's
Yeah,
very
it's
weird.
nuts. Very nuts.
Mm.
Do you so when they make it to where you can't get the new Disney physical media releases in Australia after Guardians, will you still try to find some way to support the Disney releases if it's something that you really want? Are you gonna import?
I probably will, mostly because like I've still got like my family that I think about when it comes to my releases. Like you got the latest Indiana Jones film, which I enjoyed watching at the cinema. My family enjoyed watching it. I'm like, I would definitely probably get a 4K release of
Yeah.
it, but then where's the 4K release in Australia? There's not going to be one, so I have to import that one. It's the only one currently on my mind that I'll be like, yeah, I'll import that. But then if they do like, here's an old release of like they've got Snow White coming out in 4K, and I'm
Yeah.
like, that's like my favorite of their animated features. So it's like, well, I want that, but I'm going to have to import it. Or if there's any like backlog of Fox films that they release on 4K, I'll be like, or just on Blu-ray with a better remaster, whatever. Then it's like, well, I got to import that as well. So it's going to become a domino effect of rather than just being new films that have come out, which I'll still be probably looking at every once in a while, I'll just be forced to import stuff because they're just not going to release it here. So
Now,
it's very
what
annoying.
does that look like for you cost wise? Is that going to get very expensive or
Yeah, most likely. I mean, I've had a few 4K releases a few Blu-ray releases I've gotten just standard in Australia that I've luckily gotten for pretty cheap, like maybe $20, maybe they've had a buy two get one free or a 20% off sale. But then it's like, oh, but in the US, they've got a 4K UHD release, like that Damien Chazelle film Babylon. They had that for like $50, and I'm like, I could get it because it would be like look better in 4K, but then I can just get this as a buy two get one free and get it for free as a
yeah.
Blu-ray release. So I've opted for that on the occasion. Sometimes I've just looked at the 4K release in the US, usually US, mostly over the UK, and I've been like, I want to get that instead, but it just depends on the kind of money I've got to throw at it. Like, yeah, it's been very up in the air. Like the Puss in Boots film, I got the standard Blu-ray release in Australia just because I was like, I was just tired of waiting for this 4K for $50 to drop down to something a bit less. I don't know. So because the standard 4K in Australia is $40, and that's if it comes with a Blu-ray. If it's not with a Blu-ray, it's usually 30 something. It can vary because again, you've got, if it doesn't come with a Blu-ray disc, it's a bit less. If it's an older film, it's usually a bit less. It's very weird how they do their prices, but yeah.
So if you get like an older classic film, it'll be less than like a newer movie in 4K.
Yeah, mostly. I'm trying to think of an example. There was a recent Bogart film that I'm pretty sure I got Rebel Without a Cause on 4K, and that was like only a 4K disc, but I got it for like, it was selling for less than $30, so that was like, it's not bad for a 4K disc to be that price. Still no Blu-ray or special features or anything, but I was like, that's a okay price. I think I got it on sale as well. JB has like sales like every fortnight basically by now, so it's like maybe they're just desperate to get rid of stuff or to sell. So that's
absolutely.
I don't know.
So you will you don't have an issue continuing to support Disney or anything like that? You're not like, screw Disney, I'm canceling Disney Plus, I'm out of here, I'm done with everything Disney.
My convenience there is the fact that I don't have Disney Plus, but it's my girlfriend's account, so she just sends it to me. So I'm like, great, I'll just watch her, and I don't have like Futurama's coming out on
you
Disney
don't have
Plus.
to support it out of your own
Yeah,
wallet.
like she's constantly watching it. She was using like our Netflix account before. They were like, it's restricted to our household or whatever, so they got out of that. But I've been watching like Futurama on Disney Plus just because it's like, well, I have Disney Plus, I can access it. I'll just watch it, Futurama through there because that's where we're getting it in Australia. It's like Hulu in America, which is really hilarious when the title comes up because it's Futurama, but the F and the T flip around. It's like Hulu-rama, which I think is meant to be a joke on how it's owned by Hulu now. It's like, yeah, but it'll be Disney in like a year probably because when Hulu caves in or whatever. So it's like in Australia the joke doesn't really work because we don't have that service. But yeah, so I'm okay to still support Disney on the occasion if it's a film that I really, really like. Or just like maybe it's a really good collector's set or something like that. I don't know, whatever they do, something that makes it. Again, Indiana Jones feels like the only recent example because I know my family would enjoy watching it again. I'd like to see it again. I have all the other films. It's like I kind of would like to complete the collection. But I'm not desperate to constantly bow out and be like, I'm going to buy every Disney release. It's like, no, I'll get what I want if I want it. And that's basically what I do with most of my physical media. Like a lot of the Disney releases I wasn't buying because they're on Disney Plus. I'm like, I can just watch them on there. I don't have to worry about it. But now they're removing the physical element from Australia. So I'm like, I'm going to buy as much of the physical stuff that's the best version of it that I can get for the lowest price. And then I don't have to worry about it. So
yeah, because the whole thing with Disney Plus is when they first started it up, they're like, we're going to have our, like, every movie we've ever done is going to be on here or had anything to do with. And it feels like they didn't ever like fully deliver on that promise. Like there was definitely some stuff from my childhood that was missing on there. But it feels like I don't know, I don't trust them to keep all that stuff on there.
Well, I think I recently ordered I went to get the 4K of Hook, the Spielberg film, which I have never seen it. I've heard it's mixed review-wise, but I'm also like, yeah, but I'm collecting all Spielbergs. I don't really
That's one I never heard it was mixed until I got on the internet because I've always loved that movie. I saw it in the theaters when I was like 6 years old.
Yeah, that one
always loved it.
That one's like now you can't get it in stores as of like 2 weeks ago. It was meant to still be there, so I had to order that online.
Now, who did Hook? Over here, I think Sony did Hook.
I think it was. I was actually getting confused with the BFG was the actual one that they had because that's the Disney film that Spielberg had done. And I got the Blu-ray of it because apparently it was on Disney Plus, and then they removed it from Disney Plus for like 2 months, and then they put it back. And I'm like, okay, if they're gonna do that, like just once with any one film. That's not good. So that's immediately like, I've got to get it. It's Spielberg as well. I don't care if I don't like it because it's a Roald Dahl children's movie. I'm like, I don't give a so much of his films are children's films. It doesn't really matter that much to me. So Hook was I just needed to get that on 4K because now you can't even get it in stores anymore. That's not Disney, but that's gone. A lot of films like that. So
yeah, it's definitely troubling. how they treat their content and stuff, and creating
Mm.
these shows like Willow and just taking them off the service
Yeah.
and deleting them from
That was
history.
insane to hear about, because I think I even said in my video, I'm like, "Who are they paying to keep that on the service? Like, are they actually paying their actors? Because I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure they're not. Like, isn't that why there's a strike going on right now?" So,
it's like
it's bizarre.
I don't get it at all.
Like,
I'm
I
sure
don't know
there's
if
some
it's like
kind of
a
like business bottom line
like
reason why they
I could
took it off,
imagine they'd be
but
like, "Well, it's only been out for a certain time. We can technically still have it as a tax write-off." And I'm like, "Well, why didn't we
yeah,
want to do that with Batgirl then? Like, I would have liked to have seen that, but
yeah, that's
instead we get the
strange. Something that's
Flash."
been created should have some kind of release,
Yeah,
no
yeah.
matter what. If it's
I've s
finished and done, like just release it. Like
yeah,
it's
I've
the work's
seen
been done, it's been made.
I've seen a lot
So
of animating creators, like say like Alex Hirsch and whatnot, on Twitter talk about how if you make a show, get a copy of it. Like whatever you do, just try to get a copy of it, because they could remove it from the service whenever. I think it's with Kirsten Skull or whatever, one of the voice actors from Gravity Falls. She had done an animated show that she really liked doing and wanted to show her kid, and it was gone from, like, it was leaving the service in like a couple days. So she had to
yeah,
ask Twitter, "Hey, can someone get this to me?" And someone downloaded it, put it onto a Blu-ray, and shipped it to her. Just
yeah,
because they're like, "This doesn't exist on Blu-ray. What I'm doing is
kind of
basically
like a
illegal."
bootleg
Yeah,
version of it.
yeah. They made a bootleg just for the actor so they can watch the show again. It's like, that's messed up that the actors can't even watch their stuff, or the directors.
Yeah. How do you feel about the bootlegging and getting stuff like that that's kind of homebrew made, and are you
Uh,
in do you like collecting stuff like that? Or of course you
I
would
don't
always rather get the legitimate version, but
Yeah, I
are
don't.
you into that?
Since I started buying Blu-rays, I've stopped. I've never really gotten many bootlegs. I had a relative who used to get the occasional bootleg or whatever, but then eventually I'd still buy the film. Like, that was when we were kids, so it was just an easy way to watch them. But Australia is known as a country who like to pirate, so
Yeah.
I imagine a lot of Disney films are going to be pirated from now on. It's like, yeah, no
Oh,
doubt.
you're all the
So
pirate capital of the world, huh? Didn't
yeah,
know that.
I think we're all guilty of it. I was as well. Like, I think that's actually
Well, I
part of the
always think
reason.
back to when I was a kid and, like, my grandparents and aunts, they would go to Blockbuster and get all these
Mm,
tapes on Tuesday when they came out, and they would take them home and they would record them on
yeah, yeah,
6-hour
exactly.
tapes, and they'd have an entire library, and that's all the movies they would have. They would be recorded on tapes. So
Yeah,
it's like, what's different, from what and everybody did that back then.
yeah,
Recorded off the TV. What's different about that versus what people are doing now? There is no
yeah.
difference.
Well, I mean, in this case, I think part of the reason I collect so much is because I used to pirate so much in my teens, because it's like I didn't have any money. I wanted to watch this film. I wanted to watch this show. We had to pirate a whole season of Game of Thrones just to watch it, because
Mhm.
we didn't have any access to it until we eventually
I
got
I
Foxtel.
remember my wife and I did that with Game of Thrones, because
Mm,
our second kid was born, and she was a stay-at-home mom, and times were kinda tough, and we weren't getting as much stuff, so, yeah, we were
yeah,
getting episodes illegally off the internet
yeah.
to watch
It
because we didn't wanna pay for HBO Now or Max or whatever the hell it was back then. Go, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah, I've still done it on the occasion of recent years, just because it's like sometimes it's just too hard to get a film, like, and I can't always go out to the cinemas because I've got 2 jobs. I am busy, I can't go out and watch
Yeah.
a 3-hour film at this random cinema, like, halfway across the city, because I've got stuff to do. So
Mhm. I feel you.
if I have to, I will, but I try not to. I haven't for a while, but yeah, I think the latest one actually was Barbarian, because we didn't get a theatrical release. Actually, we did, but it was at, like, stupidly 9 o'clock at night. And I'm like, "Oh, I have work the next day. What the hell?" It's like with Terrifier 2, only at 9 o'clock
Yeah.
sessions. I'm like, I went out and saw that on the weekend with a mate. That was fine. But like Barbarian, I couldn't manage the times because I was too busy. I didn't have a car. So now it's like, well, I got to pirate it. And then like a month later, hey, it's now on Disney Plus. So now I've
Yeah.
watched it twice. I've watched on Disney Plus and pirated, and I don't have a physical copy of it because they haven't done that.
Did they put Barbarian on Disney Plus? I don't know if they did that here or not.
They did that in Australia, which was decent, at least, so I could watch it in slightly better format. But
They put it on
yeah,
HBO Max here for some reason, which is kinda weird since
it is
Disney
weird.
owns it, and I was like
It,
but it came out on HBO Max, and that's how my
mm,
wife and I watched it when it came out.
yeah.
Um, and yeah, the whole Barbarian thing is just, a very sore spot for a lot of
Mm,
people, and yeah, they kinda just they put us in a corner, they put our backs against the wall, and we don't have any other choice but
Yeah.
get
I
some
mean,
bootlegs of some of these movies they don't want to put out.
there was Tar as well, which the Kate Blanchett film, which had gotten a cinematic release here and at like independent cinemas, but it's 3 hours. I don't have the time to go out and see a 3 hour
Yeah,
film
I
in the
still
peak of
haven't watched
summer.
that yet.
And I ended up pirating it only because the only physical release we got was a DVD. I'm like,
Really?
because that's the other thing. As much as we occasionally still get Blu-rays and 4Ks, a lot of films just go straight to DVD. There's no Blu-ray, nothing. It's just here's a DVD. And I'm like, who wants a
Really?
DVD? Like, I bought Bodies, Bodies, Bodies from the US because I didn't get to see it in cinemas because again, I'm kind of busy. And then there's no Blu-ray release here, so I had to get
Is that
the
something that
Blu-ray.
happens quite often with a lot of movies that aren't like
That's always
super
happened.
super mainstream? You just get a DVD?
Yeah, that's always happened, especially like even if it's like big Oscar films or whatever, like stuff that like you expect a lot of people to see. There's going to be a lot of quality put into it, and it's like here's a DVD of a 3 hour movie. I'm like, that sounds bad.
Well, I guess I should ask what's the state of physical media like in Australia? Is it a pretty niche thing at this point? Like it
Um,
is over here? When you go to the stores, is it like 90% DVD? Is that just what people are buying?
well, in this case, the only store that I mean, outside of like we've got reseller stores or people who import, like we've got Play Music DVDs who will import Blu-rays and stuff, and that's their whole shop. It's Blu-rays and vinyls, and that's really nice. But then you've got our main professional retail, at least the one that gets it straight from like the distributors, JB Hi-Fi, and
Yeah.
you go in there, most of the stores, the DVD section is in the far corner, still next to video games, but it's like they prioritize here's a TV and here's a washing machine, and because it's a home appliance place, it's all this
Yeah.
other stuff. DVDs are just in the background.
That's
So
kinda like our Best Buy stores. Used to be aisles of physical media, and now you go in
mm,
and the whole section's washing machines now and
yeah,
dryers, and we got
it's
one
so
little
annoying to me
kiosk.
because I always go to JB and they've got maybe 2-3 shelves of. They've usually got we still got a good number of shelves with DVDs and Blu-rays, which I love, but they always put it right next to like the employee entrance. So like I'll be standing there looking at all these films, and I'll have employees keep coming in front of me or behind me because they have to like go on break or they have to grab stuff, and I'm like, why do they put us in the dead end section? Put the video games here. People don't buy physical video games anymore, or at least not
Yeah.
as much as they used to. Like that's a service. It's like you've got Steam. My brother buys a lot of games on Steam. He hardly ever goes to JB to buy video games. He goes to like,
Yeah.
I think he goes to EB Games and then like Price Matches because they do that or something. I don't know, but he's the
Yeah.
video game person. I'm the media person. So
Yeah, I haven't
yeah,
played as much video games in recent years, but yeah, I don't think my son's ever put a, like, physical disc in his console to play a game.
mm.
It's all, like,
That's
downloaded.
the only time I do when it's console games. But it's like I
Yeah.
you know I played PC for so many years. It's like what's the point of buying a physical version of it when you can just download it? So
Yeah.
yeah, but I think I haven't had too many struggles with if there's sections are getting smaller or bigger because we still got a good amount of JB stores. But for me, the concern is the fact that a lot more JB stores are popping up and they don't sell Blu-rays. They sell video games, and that's about it. Like you get like Apple products and other
Weird.
big stuff. Like I've got one that's around the corner. We were waiting years for it to come in, and it's like, look, no movies. I'm like, I would have gone there like every day after work, and now I've gone there once to buy a speaker, and that
Yeah.
was it. So I haven't
So
gone
they're
there
just popping
since.
up and just doing video games, no movies,
Yeah,
huh?
it's very weird. So like I can understand some being home appliance focused stores, but they still have video games. We got one that's like in the next suburb, which was the closest one, and now that's still no movies. It's you can get TVs. I got a microwave from there, but
Yeah.
it's like I can't get a goddamn DVD. So
Yeah,
yeah,
but, yeah, here at, like, our Walmarts, it's almost, like, 90% DVD, at least at mine. Like, I'll go in
mm,
there and all the new releases, there'll be a lot of them just on DVD. I can't find a Blu-ray or nothing either, but Blu-rays are still available. I can get on Amazon. I can get on go to, Target or Best Buy. They usually have,
mm,
Blu-rays and 4Ks and stuff, but at our Walmarts, it's, like, almost all DVD, and we're just getting to the point over here where Blu-rays are kind of starting to take over DVD a little bit because
mm.
the market share was like 50-60% DVDs and then like 30% Blu-ray and then I think 10-15% 4Ks,
Yeah, no,
for a
I'd
while.
seen one of those like a pie chart that I think I mentioned in one of my videos saying how like, oh well, as of this week, it had been like the majority of it was Blu-rays, but it was only like 2% compared to DVDs. So, given that most consumers buy DVDs over Blu-rays and then also stream over buying physical, it does make sense that the market is much thinner. But yeah,
I mean, I still know people that they don't have streaming services or anything in their area. Their internet's still very spotty, and they'll buy DVDs. So it's almost like they don't get how good the quality is of a Blu-ray because they've never streamed. So it's almost like they never really experienced HD before. So they're still just buying, DVDs and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, look, my mom still refers to Blu-rays. Yeah, my mom still refers to Blu-rays as DVDs because she doesn't realize it's a different trademark. So she'll be like, "Oh, don't you have it on DVD?" I'm like, "No, but I do have it on Blu-ray." And she's like, "What's the difference?" I'm like, "There's a lot of difference, and it's mostly quality."
I can get you not knowing the difference between a 4K and a Blu-ray. Kind of.
Well, that's still kind of the same
But like a
trademark.
DVD and a Blu-ray was such a stark difference.
Because I mean, I'd gotten the Gone with the Wind set. It was like the 70th anniversary set, which just came in a beautiful like red velvet box for my mom because it's like one of her favorite films. And she'd had the DVD. We still have her original 2-set VHS set, which is cool. It's like, but I got the Blu-ray because it also came with a book. It came with a certificate, all these art cards and stuff. Wonderful set. And they were like, "Oh, well, I mean, we didn't really need the Blu-ray," but then they chucked it in. They're like, "Actually, this looks phenomenal. Like, the DVD still looked really nice, but it's like the Blu-ray just had so much more essence to it." I'm like, "Yeah, it's great, isn't it?" Just comparing the two. So, and that's also what I find funny when they do sets like that. And then you got 5 years later, they're like, "Here's the 75th anniversary," and it's just the standard Blu-ray and a book in a big cardboard box. When I saw that, I'm like,
they
"That's
used
hilarious."
to go all out, at least the studios did. I mean, you're still getting boutique labels going all out and stuff, but like studios don't really do a ton anymore when it comes to their releases.
I mean, look at the Exorcist
standard
release. That was an interesting release. Like, I was still able to get we got a store called Play Music DVD who, much like another store, Cinemaniacs, who import and whatever. And so I was able to get from them the Steelbook release, but it was the one with the theatrical artwork and the poster. It wasn't the big box set that they had that was like limited to the UK Amazon and sold out in an hour, but it was like
I got that one. I got that one.
I'm jealous, but I'm also like, I was asleep when
I
that
didn't
dropped.
need it. I didn't need it, but I got it. Well, apparently I heard that they're not going to have some of the special features isn't going to be on like the regular 4K release. That's going to be on the one that I got. So I'm kind of happy I got it, but
I looked at the Steelbook release that I ended up ordering.
Like, why are you all dropping features? It just doesn't make any sense.
I got the Steelbook release was, for me, it was still 115 posted, which is still a lot of money. But for the fact that it's 2 4K discs and it's still got the theatrical cut, which I've never seen, I've only ever seen the extended cut. But then the version I have on Blu-ray still has a bonus features disc with a couple featurettes and I think 2 documentaries. So it's nice to have that. But again, it's a 50th anniversary.
Was that a UK only
release? No, that was my Australian release. It was so
you all got the original theatrical artwork Steelbook over there.
This is the standard Australian release that we got, and if you notice, it's stairs.
Yeah,
that's what the image is. It's just remember the iconic
I kind of like that image though.
I'm like, it's.
I think we have a release like that over here too. I think there's some kind of slipcover with that on it.
But it does come with a few documentaries, which is nice. But it's like,
I had the DVD for years because I just got back into like I basically started my Blu-ray collection like 6 or 7 years ago because I was kind of late to the party on Blu-ray. So I had my DVD of The Exorcist for forever. So when I upgraded to Blu-ray, I just got some little like lenticular cover at Best Buy, and it's got Reagan on it. It kind of moves, so it's very basic, but. Exorcist is my favorite horror movie though, so I'm trying to go all out for that one, and I wanted to get that. I was right on it, that UK exclusive. Soon I was just waiting for it to drop, and it did, and I jumped on it. But I missed our Best Buy exclusive Steelbook because I wanted that as well.
I think was that was the image of just Reagan, right? The like
it was like blue.
Yeah, that's the slipcover artwork we've got for the like deluxe Steelbook version. Yeah. So I'm like, I do like the artwork, and I like that it's the slipcover, but I love that the Steelbook is still just a theatrical poster, and it comes with the poster. I'm like, that's cool. I'm getting that because I know that when we get the 4K release in Australia, it's just going to be Reagan's wide eyes screaming. I'm like, that artwork is not great. And I know we're going to get that because if the US is, then we're going to get it. There's not going to be any difference. So I'm like, I want to make sure
You
I've
talking about
got
the
the best.
regular slipcover version?
Yeah, the
Like
regular.
the red and green, and looks like
Yeah,
a
with
Christmas slipcover kind of.
yeah, I think so. But we don't really get that many slipcovers in Australia. So
Mm,
yeah, but I mean, we do on the occasion, which is nice. But
yeah.
I usually don't bother. But then I don't mind if you can, cool. If you don't, I don't complain. I've got enough standard cases that,
Yeah.
yeah, because I know that's a
We'll
bit.
talk about that here in a second.
Yeah.
Slips and stuff like that.
Mm.
Let me dive into your you as a collector. How'd you get started on your physical media collecting journey? Is this something you've done at a very young age, or you
Um,
adopted when you got a little bit older?
I definitely adopted it by the time I was in my mid-teens. I started getting the occasional film that I really liked. I'd grown up with the DVD and VHS collection my dad had purchased, so he was constantly getting films every once in a while, stuff that he really liked, stuff that he think we'd really like. When I think I was 12 or 13 or something, my dad had gotten me. I don't even know if I was 12 or 13. I think it was like 2010-ish period or something. My dad had bought me my first Blu-ray disc, which was Shaun of the Dead, and it was a
Yeah.
Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz. They came with sleeves. It was like limited edition with comic book artwork. So like I'd grown up with that and was like, oh, this is Blu-ray. This is a new format. Like my dad adopted it kind of immediately. We got a home theater system. We got it because it came in a bundle with a Wii. And I'm like, that's great. Now we can play Mario and watch good quality movies, you know?
So
So
the Blu-ray player came in that bundle with the Wii.
yeah, I think
Kind of
I'm pretty
cool.
sure it did because there was a 3D Blu-ray player as well, and it came with the big flat screen TV, all that stuff that we'd never had. We used to have the big box TV and everything,
Yeah.
so it was a huge upgrade for us. And this was like, this is pretty good because we didn't like get, to my knowledge, we didn't get hugely affected by that recession that happened in like 2008. So we didn't
Yeah.
have that in Australia. We were like pretty fine. So we had the money to put into, oh, we can get the Wii bundle set with the TV and home theater, 5.1 surround sound, all that stuff. Like that was a huge upgrade for us. Um,
Nice.
but yeah, so Blu-rays, it was mostly dad would buy them. I would occasionally buy them if I had the money. And then when I basically got my first job in 2017, when I was in my first year of uni, it was like, I can buy whatever I want now. So it was like, I've done all these years of pirating and been buying all these okay movies or movies I've really loved, but I want to get everything now. So I
Yeah.
just dived in and I haven't stopped. We had a period where we moved houses, and in the 6 months we hadn't bought the house yet, but I think like it was like 2018. We had moved most of the stuff in our house into like a storage facility so that would make it easier to travel and whatever. And when we moved to the next place, and my parents were like, you can keep 10 movies, we'll still have the TV, you can watch whatever you want. So I chose 10 movies. They went overseas, they came back, that had times by 10. They had like two different sales at JB. I'd bought a buttload of movies in that time. It's like, well, now I guess I'll just have to keep buying movies. So I just kept
Yeah.
buying movies. So
Did
yeah.
you have that kind of collecting mentality when you were a kid with stuff like toys and video games and stuff like that?
Um,
Or is it just something that you're like, when you got the money, you just wanted to put it towards that?
when I had the money, I would buy Lego sets all the time as a kid. We bought video games occasionally. I didn't buy them as many because I was never great at them. And then when I did buy them, my brother would play it. I'd watch him play it, and I'd never experience it. Like Halo 2, I never played it because my brother did, and I watched him. Like same as
Right. Is your
a whole
brother a
bunch
little
of
bit
games.
older than you?
Yeah, I've got
Mhm.
two. My older brother's a year and a half older than me. My younger brother is like 2 years younger. So,
Yeah.
but in terms of,
Halo
I
2
think,
was the game back in the day. It was
yeah,
huge over here.
it was
You
fun
got
to watch
together
it,
with your
but
friends and you hooked together your Xboxes, and we all had like TVs before, like, well, I think Halo 2 had online, but
hmm.
we all played in the same room and there's like 6 TVs and we would like gather around and play Halo 2.
Yeah, we had that big time in my teenage years with stuff like Minecraft and some Halo Reach and whatnot. So that was always fun. But
Yeah.
collecting wise, I think because my dad's always been outside of having the shelf of the DVDs, I'm looking at it right now, but there's like a few hundred CDs because he was really big into getting CDs because it's like music,
Yeah.
you know, this is before iPods and streaming. And he still buys deluxe like sets for like Beatles albums or like Bob Dylan or Bruce Springsteen and whatnot. So that kind of gave me the impression that like I can do the same thing, but with movies. And
Yeah.
I loved movies, so I would buy standard releases like standard CDs, and then it's like, hey, here's a deluxe set that costs $200. I'll buy that, Like it's definitely been an impression that I've gotten from my dad, mostly as a mixture of the films he's shown me, the films that my parents have shown me that I've grown up with, and then I've developed my taste, and then his collecting habits have rubbed off on me. So more expensive, I'd say, but he goes to
Well,
concerts.
yeah.
So
When did you get to the point where you were discovering these, boutique labels that were doing these cool editions? And I'm sure at first it started off just buying stuff at the store, movies that you
yeah,
love. But
initially
when
it
did
was
you start to
always
discover the screen factories and the umbrellas and imprints and all that?
well, Umbrella was always a label because it's an Australian label. We've always had that.
I know
So
imprint's fairly new, right? So it's been
Imprint is
around for like
been around
3 or
for
4 years or something,
yeah.
maybe.
I know that with like Umbrella, I never thought of Umbrella as a boutique label. I'd occasionally buy their release. I just buy standard Blu-rays at JB, whatever, because my friend was like, "You got to get this one. You got to get that one." But then I was watching a podcast where the next week was like, oh, we're going to watch a film called House or House Suit. It's like a 1977 Japanese horror film. And I was like, oh, I got to get that.
Mm.
So I found the Criterion. I had no idea what a Criterion was. I imported it, came in like 2 weeks later. I went to watch it and it didn't work because it was region A locked and I didn't have a
Oh,
region free player.
damn.
So it was like a whole thing by that stage of like, oh, well, I can import films. There's these big labels, they have premium releases, and also I need to get a player that can play them because
Yeah.
that's kind of important. So that was probably around mid 2018 that I discovered all the different labels. I had Zavi that I could buy a bunch of stuff from, which they don't sell to Australia anymore for physical media. So I could Barnes and Noble. You could still import that stuff to Australia. You can't do that anymore. But that
When
was
did that stop? When did the Barnes& and
I feel
Noble?
like that stopped maybe 2 years ago. They definitely during the pandemic. I'm pretty sure they
Were you
stopped. But
able to take part in the Barnes& and Noble 50% off sales and
that's the
stuff?
only time I would buy from them. I would buy during the 50% off
Mhm.
sales. And then one year I was adding the stuff to my cart and then they were like, oh, sorry, we can't ship to your location. And I'm like, oh,
Mm.
what the hell? And I looked it up and they're like, yep, not shipping to Australia anymore. And
Yeah, it is
yeah,
expensive to ship now for sure.
especially for 50% off sales. So I would always bulk buy. So now I hardly even buy Criterions. I get them from Amazon mostly now because I don't really have any other places to get them from. I mean, Dead on DVD and Cinemaniacs have them, but
Does
yeah, I mean,
Amazon work pretty good for you? Do you all have, like, Amazon do you order from Amazon US like we
um,
would do, like, Amazon UK or something?
I don't actually like to go that much onto the other like the UK or the Amazon or US things because ours is we do have an Australian one which allows us to import, but there are things that you go onto the UK site, you can get stuff that is specifically there, but even though it's in pounds or whatever currency they have, and it's like I don't do that often, but I definitely once Savvy stopped shipping here, I was like, I'll see what else is there. And I'd heard of, obviously, I knew what Amazon was. My dad would buy that from them every couple of weeks with a new CD or whatever.
Yeah.
And I just realized I have never bought from Amazon. So I just started buying from Amazon. I realized what they had, their catalog, all the imports I could get from like Scream Factory and all these other like boutique labels. I'm like, this is great, but also terrible, but it's great. Bad for my bank account, good for
Yeah.
my quality of shelf. Um, but yeah, so that was really interesting to start doing that. But of the occasion, obviously, still get damaged stock in every once in a while. But
Yeah.
they're pretty good in return, so I'm never overly complaining about them. The only issue is the marketplace value. Prices go up and down quite a lot, so I
Yeah.
just try to get them when it's a good price that I'm happy with. But yeah, I don't mind buying from Amazon.
So since Zavi stopped shipping to you, do you find it harder to get, like, Arrow Video releases since Zavi has
Um,
Arrow now?
Arrow, I just go straight to the actual website. For some reason,
Okay.
despite it being owned by the Hut Group, they still ship it to
They still
Australia.
ship to you? Oh, no
Yeah,
problem.
I'm like, "That's great because I love Arrow Video's releases, and they usually come in really well packaged. I know that occasionally people don't get great packaging, and I'm like, I've never had that issue. It's always been bubble wrapped, had padding. I don't know, maybe I'm just one of the lucky few, but
You're
yeah,
just one of the lucky ones. You're getting the
yeah,
good packer on a good
I've
day.
always been able to get it from their website, and I'm like, I always bulk buy too. I never because of how expensive shipping is. I'm like, I don't like to just buy one film, so like either I get a sale or I bulk buy. I'm usually still bulk buy during a sale, but yeah, just trying to find more stuff that makes it cheaper for me, So
Yeah.
yeah, but no, I still get stuff from them. Same as like Second Sight, I was able to get from their website. Indicator, a lot of UK brands that I used to get from Zavvi. Now I just get them direct. It's mostly the US labels that are harder to get, especially because Criterion. I used to get them through Zavvi, and uh, that was not a great idea because the prices were usually like $20 dearer. They'd come in, they'd probably be damaged, and I wouldn't be able to return them, and that was very annoying. But
Yeah.
I mostly had Zavvi as my steelbook retailer, which I don't
Okay.
buy steelbooks that often anymore now because I'm like, I stopped being a collector of that basically once Zavvi had stopped selling them. So I'm like, but I think I was
Do
pretty
you
tired of buying them. So
getting
yeah,
into steelbooks? Do you all get exclusive steelbooks over there for
yeah,
the
we
studio
we
releases and stuff pretty regularly?
we still get stuff that would be like Best Buy exclusives, like the latest John Wick one, how it had the red cover with him and Donnie
Hmm.
Yen's character in the back. Like we still got that, still had first pressing on the side of it, which was cute. And that for us was interesting because I had bought two of the Best Buy releases from the US because the third film in Australia came as a steelbook, which was exclusive to us, which was nice.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you could still get it elsewhere with his dog on the back and whatever. But I figured because I got the third one as a steelbook, I'll buy the first two, and I imported them for a pretty good price from eBay. Um, but then the fourth one, it was like, I'll get the steelbook to, complete the steelbook collection. And then I found out once I'd ordered it that the steelbook comes with a Blu-ray and a 4K, but the standard 4K doesn't. The standard 4K was just a 4K disc. The Blu-ray was
Really?
just a Blu-ray. I'm like, wow, for $5 extra, I'm getting a Blu-ray disc.
Yeah.
And then they had a sale, so I got $10 back, which was nice. So
And that's
yeah,
the Lionsgate steelbooks. We
yeah.
go nuts for those over here because they have the nice artwork and the nice slip covers
Yeah, we
and
don't
all
get
that
any of the
stuff.
slipcover ones in Australia, which sucks. But I have
So
imported a
the
few.
John Wick one didn't have a slipcover on it?
No, it was just a red image.
Damn.
Yeah, so I'm okay with that, except for the fact that it's still a glossy cover, which matches the other first and second one, but the third one is
Yeah.
just a matte finish, which is
Well,
my preference. But
they do some really, like, cool stuff with the slipcovers and how they
I
kind of
know
go in with it, like the American
I've
Psycho one.
I've
Have you
done a
seen that
few.
one?
Yeah, I've got that one. I
You
had
got that
imported
one?
that. I'd imported the I think back before Zavvi stopped selling to us, they had the Event Horizon collector set, which came with what was basically the
Mhm.
Best Buy one with the eyeball and everything, and that
It
looked
was a
really
cool one.
nice. It was a
Yeah.
really cool set. So I was happy to buy that. Like some of those ones have been really cool to order in. Some of them, I think there was a site in Taiwan that had like a bunch of steelbook releases, and they would get imported in Best Buy releases, and I'd just be able to buy them from there, which was very strange. But they're like a professional retailer. I just can't remember what they're called, but they had their own releases as well. So, but yeah,
Nice,
so
nice.
yeah, I still buy the occasional steelbook, but like with The Exorcist, ordered that just because I love the artwork on it.
Yeah. But they're
But
not
yeah,
like, must-owns. You don't have to get the steel books and
no, I mostly focus on if it has some kind of a benefit or quirk. Like again, I like the artwork more on the steelbook for John Wick, and it came with a Blu-ray disc, so it was like a whole bunch of perks. So I'm like, I'll get that for
yeah.
that reason.
So
Yeah,
weird why I don't know, it just seems like everybody's operating on such a different set of rules these days. It's like,
yeah,
all right, so the steelbook's got the Blu-ray and the 4K, the slipcover doesn't. It's like, what is going on?
yeah. It's very
It's the
strange.
same release. It's just one's a steelbook, one's a slipcover, but
Yeah,
kind of crazy.
yeah.
I want to get into you a little bit as a content creator. Obviously, you have your channel.
Mm.
When did you get started into that? What got you into doing YouTube and talking about
Um,
movies on YouTube?
it took me a while to start talking about movies because initially I started in like 2015 on a different channel because I started doing gaming videos because my brother was doing gaming videos. He
Yeah,
still does do gaming videos. He focused on like indie horror games and stuff like that. Whereas I liked older arcade games and emulator stuff. So I started playing that. I played like Gary's Mod and stuff on Steam with my friends because I was in the middle of high school. It was like, it's a Thursday night. Let's play some Gary's Mod. I'll record and edit it and stuff like that. Most of that stuff you can't find anymore because I've like taken it mostly down from YouTube because I'm like, I don't need people to watch this anymore. But
yeah.
then when it was 2016, I started studying media in high school, and I was working on a film that became Don't Starve because I liked the game and I wanted to make a film. And I
I
was
think I
like,
remember that game.
yeah, and I was like, I don't want this to go on my gaming channel because it doesn't feel like something as much as it's based on a game. I'm like, I want to have a media channel, one that's about movies. So
Yeah,
I made that channel, and even I called it Telecreations, which was stupidly based on a character I had from a podcast I was doing, like the radio play drama that I had started writing. Called
Yeah.
The character was called Teller. I voiced it. I was like, oh, it's cool. It's like Teller, and he creates because he's like a god in this universe. And I'm like, that was really stupid of me. That was a
Yeah.
very high
Nice.
school attitude. It was
Sounds
only
fun.
like it was only like a year ago that I changed the channel to Collector Creations, because I'm like, well,
Okay.
I collect and I like creating films and videos. Ha! Oh, genius! Put it together,
There you
So
go, man. So you
I
were
had,
Telecreations all the way up
yeah,
until last year?
yeah. Basically, I had another Collector Creations channel, which was initially just I collect Funko products, so I'll like do videos on that. But then I didn't always do videos, and I stopped being interested. But I'm like, I like the name. What if I just take the name, change Telecreations to Collector Creations, and then like just change the other channel to like it was like CC 2.0 or some bullshit. It's still there. You can still watch the videos, but it's like I just don't put videos on it anymore. Still got
Yeah.
a small subscriber base, which is interesting given I haven't made a video in like 2 years. But yeah, I did Telecreations to release my podcast, which was Are We Alive, which was, I wouldn't say not professional, but also very amateur. I had professional equipment, but I was also like, we're high schoolers. I was just kind of having fun with it, writing scripts, doing episodes because I loved Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I wanted to do my own version of that.
Yeah.
So I did that. I had Don't Starve come out, and eventually I just started doing podcasts. I had a show called The Mindless Show, which is just me and my friends with one microphone doing a show, which was a bad idea. Um, all of it evolved into what I've got now, where I've gone through all these shows and different series, and then I'm gonna like do video essays because I got to uni and I was studying film. So I'm like, I'll do video essays, I'll do films or videos where I talk about films and talk about actors and all this kind of stuff, and then it's just kind of rounded out into talking about physical media, which
Yeah.
I mean is my prowess. I love talking about physical media, but I still occasionally will talk about films, have essays. Sometimes I write them, sometimes I just talk about a topic that's film related and just say it's a video essay. Totally. Don't check
Yeah.
any sources. But yeah.
Do you
So
find that's what you mostly focus on now is movies and, physical media based content on your channel
yeah, it's
for the
definitely
most part?
become what's been also mostly like, because I wanted to find out what was like most popular view wise, and obviously talking about physical media is the most popular stuff I've done. And luckily,
Yeah.
I like talking about physical media. I like watching films. I like showing that I have films. It's just a good combination. It
Yeah.
encourages me to make more, to watch more films, to buy more films. It's not great for my pocket, but it's great for my ego, I
Yeah.
guess. So
Absolutely. Yeah, I
yeah,
find
so
it interesting with because when I got into start my channel back in 2019 pretty much, I was doing all kinds of stuff. I was doing like Blu-ray hunting videos and movie reviews and things
mm,
like that. And I found when I just focused in on just physical media only, I found my views started to skyrocket, my
yeah,
subscribers went up, and it's almost like that's an underserved demographic, I guess. People, even though it seems like there's a lot of people talking about Blu-rays and
yeah,
4Ks and stuff
it
on the
definitely
internet,
seems that way. And
it's
I've always
I
been
think
like,
it's
oh,
less than people that are doing movie reviews and stuff like that. Just
yeah,
straight movie
I
reviews.
feel like with straight movie reviews, I stick to Letterboxd. I put up my reviews on that.
Yeah.
I will occasionally I've discovered that if I do at the end of each month, hey, these are the films I watched this past month. Like people still watch that. It gets my thoughts out. And I can
Yeah.
talk about films a bit more, and that's always fun to do. But it was once I started doing focus things on physical media, I was like, okay, this is what people want to see, and I like that. I still talk about films because that's my passion. I have a degree. I can
Yeah.
talk about films, and even if people don't watch it as much, it gets my thoughts out there. I can do a video essay. I don't care if
Yeah.
only 200 people watch it or 20 people watch it. I don't care.
Yeah.
So,
That's the thing
yeah.
I struggle with as well, because you it does feel like sometimes in this space people only want to know about like the technical part of collecting and
Mm,
um aesthetic, how nice is the slipcover, whatever, how's the
yeah.
packaging, how's it look. And I always try to, in every review I do, talk about the movie for a little bit. How did I
Yeah.
feel about the movie? Because that's what I watched, that
Yeah.
I had an experience with the movie that goes beyond the packaging and the technical specs. So I like to give my thoughts on the movie before I dive into the
Yeah.
the audio and all that stuff. But you'll always have people that's like, God, I wish you wouldn't talk about the movie, just get to the, the 4K and stuff. I'm like, there's other channels that do that. They
Yeah,
do it way
exactly.
better than I do. Go watch them. I
Yeah,
like to talk about the film itself and give you an all around kind of thought
yeah.
process on the movie.
I started doing a series of that called Anatomy for Blu-ray, which was based on the title Anatomy for Murder, because that was the first one I looked at, and that was a comparison of like the Criterion release with the 4K release. And I was like, I want to start doing this where I can watch both releases, dive
Yep.
into all the special features, do a comparison. But it takes so much time to do that,
It's a lot
to
of
watch the
work.
film, to
Yeah.
do all this stuff. I'm like, there are people who do this a lot better than me. And
Mhm.
I still like doing it every once in a while for a film that I'm like, I really want to dive into this, because sometimes
Yeah.
there are just standard Blu-rays which have nothing in terms of special features and the quality of the footage is fine. But I'm like, no one's going to watch that because it's not popular. It's not something that's interesting. So even my occasional, because I do this weekend videos where I basically every week I'm clearly still buying too many movies and I want to show it off. So it's like I feel really happy when I'm like I can get these movies in and actually have watched them and be like, I really like the transfer or whatever. Like I rarely do that, but I love when I can do that because it's just a cute little thing. I'm like, that's fun. I can just be like, this isn't just I'm buying it because it's physical. It's also I really enjoyed the film. Like
Yeah.
I'd gotten the 88 films release of Burial Ground and the synapse of Roadhouse. And like I got them in the same day. I actually watched them both on the same day, which I rarely ever do. And then when I made my video, I was like, I actually really like these films. They were fun. The transfers were amazing. The packaging is great. Like having to talk about the whole thing was just much better than just here's a Blu-ray, here's a Blu-ray. I still like doing
Yeah.
that, but it's also like I feel like I'm just cataloging by that stage.
And
So
it gets hard sometimes because you start bringing in so much stuff because it's almost like your eyes are bigger than your stomach sometimes. It's like you
yes,
can't watch
yes.
everything you bring in, but you also can't, you don't feel like you can pass it up.
Yeah, not to
So it
mention how
almost
many
feels like
times I
you're,
want to rewatch a film and be like, I'm going
yeah,
to rewatch this film, even though there's 2,000 films here that I could literally watch that I've never seen before.
yeah. And I mean,
Yeah.
I'm trying to watch, at least 25 to 30 movies, a month usually is my goal, but there's
Yeah.
only so many hours in the day, and especially
Yes.
and when you have a channel and you're trying to make content as well, and you got a
Mm.
full-time job and a family and stuff, it gets very difficult for sure.
I think I've been lucky because the Blu-ray.com app actually has a section where you can say which movies are new, and basically that's like, oh, here's a new movies that I've never watched or whatever, and I've pinned them as like, here are movies I haven't watched. So I've currently got 557 Blu-rays on my shelf, not movies but Blu-rays. One of them is like an 8-pack set of like, who was it? Mae West films that I haven't watched yet, but it's like
Yeah,
the fact that I have on my app saying these I haven't watched. So I'm like, cool, if I need something random, I've got a whole list of films I haven't watched before. And that's
yeah.
fun. If I've seen the film but haven't seen the Blu-ray, I'll still say I've seen it because at least then I know I've still seen the film. There's no
Would it
issues there.
make you sick to know that I don't categorize my movies at all? I don't even have an app. It's the Wild West over here.
I
Everything's just
once I discovered it, I had over 1,000
I
Blu-rays by
need
that
to do
point.
that. I need to do that. People tell
It's
me to do that all that you need to do this app and that app, and so because I'll be I bought the same Blu-ray. I'm starting to do it more and more these days, twice
yeah,
because I didn't
that's
remember I had it.
that was helpful because when I've had plenty of times where I've had it logged in, like I still had to go for 1,000 Blu-rays before when I first got the app. But like I had my dad call me one time. He's like, "Hey, I'm at JB. Do we have this one on Blu-ray?" I'm like, let me check. And I just check my phone. Yep, we've got it on Blu-ray. So like I don't
Yeah,
remember half the time, but he'll see it in a sale and be like, I could grab this for a cheap price. But instead of him buying it, he'll call me and be like, do we have
yeah,
this? And I'm like, yes, we do. Don't
and
buy it.
it's something that's changed in like the past year or two with me and my collection because I feel like I knew I had a good handle on what I had like 2 or 3 years ago, and now the collection's growing, um, and I don't know anymore. Like some
Yeah.
stuff, I don't remember what I got and what I didn't.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, no, that's always an interesting experience, especially because I have my brother's friends will come over and be like, "Oh my god, what? Like, look at the shelf in absolute awe," and mostly will be the first question, surprisingly, that most of them have is, "How much would this be worth if you sold it?" I'm like, "Why does that matter to you?" Like, honestly, like all of these
You're
are now
not getting
second.
any of the money.
Yeah, I mean that's yeah, it's like all of these are secondhand. A lot of them are, some of them are boutique, some of them are premiums. It's like a few thousand. Why does it matter? Like honestly, I can't calculate it. I don't want to, you know. It's just it'd
Yeah.
be too much. And
Do
will
you
people
keep
buy
up with
it?
that kind of stuff? Like, what's your collection worth? Like, what a specific item in your collection's worth, or you just rather not even know?
Unless I have an item that's like a mint condition thing, because I've got the occasional Steelbook Premium that I'm like, oh, like Manta Lab or whatever. I keep mint in plastic on the occasion. I'm like, I want to know how much this is worth because eventually I'll resell it, you know. But for the most part, I don't bother. I'm just like, I've got so much. I don't remember how much half of this stuff costs because maybe I just got it on sale at JB. Maybe I got it full price. Maybe I imported it. Maybe from eBay. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't care anymore. Like as long as when I'm buying the film and I'm happy with the price, that's good enough for me. You know, if I was happy with the price, that's why it's in my collection. So,
There you
like
go.
same with the Roadhouse limited edition for bloody Synapse. Was it Synapse?
Vinegar Syndrome.
Vinegar Syndrome. That's the
If
one.
we got the same one, maybe you all had a Synapse one over
Well,
there. I'm not sure.
I got it
You
from
talking
Dead
about this one
DVD.
right here?
Yes, yeah, that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like I've got that one on my shelf on display. That cost me $80 to get because the store Dead and DVD who was selling it had it. Like they had it for $70, $10 postage. I'm like, that's pretty good, you know, 4K, all this exclusive stuff. And I'm like, that's great.
That was a
It's
great
expensive.
release. I said it was the best
Expensive.
4K release of last year to me,
Yeah.
like as far as like
It
a
was
restoration.
yeah, it's exactly like it was an expensive release, but then watching it, I'm like, this is worth the money alone for the transfer,
It
like,
looked
and then all the extra
fantastic. Yeah.
stuff. And I've seen other stores who are selling in Australia for like 120, 130. I'm like, I got a very good deal on it, so I'm pretty
Yeah.
goddamn happy. I know it was expensive, but it was worth it. So
Are you
the
into do you get into a lot of the Vinegar Syndrome stuff?
I've got a few of their releases. I've only actually watched the Roadhouse release.
Okay.
They had a sale last year. My mate and I ordered in because we were like, we can bulk buy it together, split the shipping cost, that kind of stuff, because it's very expensive to get Vinegar Syndrome here. Um, and
Obviously, they built their name on kind of trash horror and
yes, I've got a
pornographic movies, but they've kind of started to branch into more legitimate films. Like Amityville Horror was a real eye opener for me, and that's when I started to get into them more. And that was a
um,
great release as well.
I'm surprised it's not actually letting me on the Blu-ray.com app find what Vinegar Syndromes I have. Anyway, yeah, I've debated a couple of those. I've got a lot of enough of those on like second sight with like Amityville that like I don't need to get the 4K UHD. I haven't even watched
Oh,
the
yeah, if you got a
Amityville
second sight,
second
you're
sight,
good.
but I did watch the second sight with my brother, and we're like, this is an okay film. I'm happy with the transfer, so that's good enough. But I've only got a few of theirs. I've got the Incredible Melting Man. I've got the 4K release of that, which is
Nice.
like the limited edition like one. There was like the Scary of 61st or whatever. I think I'd gotten Flesh for Frankenstein, the 4K 3D bundle. I found it at a movie market in Australia. The Astor Cinema have a movie market once a year, and someone was selling that for like, I don't know, 60, $70. I'm like,
Yeah.
sure, I'll buy this. This looks like fun. So I've gotten a few from a movie market, but the ones I've gotten direct from them, to be fair, I haven't watched any of them.
Yeah.
I've only watched the one with Roadhouse, but I'm like, I'm happy to have them because the packaging is nice. I trust that they're good transfers. Like, it's a company that I'm like, I know the packaging is going to be great. The transfer is going to be fantastic. The special features are going to be
They
good. So
do great.
I never doubt that about them. It's like with Criterion. It's like I don't doubt that about them.
Sometimes
There's
I'm watching a movie from Vinegar Syndrome, and the transfer is so good. It's
mm,
like it makes me blind to how terrible the movie is.
exactly. There's a lot
I'm
of
just
films
having
like
so
that.
much fun watching it, and I'm just
How's
like,
this
this just
one
looks
star
so
movie
great.
so good? Yeah. So yeah, that's a lot of fun with physical stuff to buy with such great transfers. Like I know that
Yeah,
with the 88 films release at Burial Grounds, a subscriber of mine was saying how they had grown up with it on like VHS and they were like, it's fun, but it's grisly. But then they got the 4K and they're like, this is like insanely. They had so many details they'd
I
never
need to
noticed
grab that.
before.
I wonder if it's still available because I know a lot of people picked it up. I missed out on it, but I might need
I
to
was
jump
lucky.
on it.
I got it at the Dead End DVD because they just had it. You know, I was like, sure, it's just come out. It's limited edition. I've never bought an 88 films on 4K before because I used to buy a lot of their
Yeah,
Blu-rays from Zavvi, especially like the Jackie Chan films and whatnot. So yeah, I don't know.
yeah, I've been
Not
hearing some
bad.
great things about that release for sure.
Yeah, it's good.
Um, let me get into a few questions on just what type of collector you are.
Mm.
Are you a day one buyer? Do you buy stuff when it gets released, or you usually kind of wait for the sale on most stuff? And do things also release on Tuesday there, like they do
Um,
here, or is it a different day?
we have it as technically it's Wednesday, but you can go to stores and they'll be on the shelves on
They'll be on
Monday.
the shelves.
So
Yeah.
it depends on if the store gets it before anyone else. And online, you won't be able to get it immediately. You have to say it
Yeah.
comes out on this date. You have to pick it up on that date. But
Here it's Tuesday, and we call it Blues Day Tuesday.
interesting. Um, Yeah, in terms of day one releases, I don't bother with that anymore. I used to get a lot of films like immediately because I'm like, I gotta get this, whatever. But then if it's a standard release, like even if it's a standard 4K, it's like, well, if it's not limited edition, I can wait for a sale. It's like $40 for Evil Dead Rise. I can wait a year. I saw it in the
Yeah.
cinema. I enjoyed it, but I'm like, I can
And
wait
I
for
don't know how it is over
$55.
there, but over here, sometimes all it'll take is a couple of weeks or something to drop $5, $10. Like I've seen it happen. It's
It
crazy.
it takes a while here, but because JB has so many 20% off sales that it's like I don't need to buy things full price. Like I think
Yeah.
for something like Imprint or Steelbook releases, Steelbook for JB, they will have like a selling fast thing for listed for like Last of Us, their Steelbook release for that, same as John Wick. That's why I got John Wick I ordered it online because I'm like, I want to have it. I don't want to have to try and find it in store when there's so many stores and it's probably not going to be there. So I lucked out. I got the 4K. I got it through the Steelbook through their website. It came in perfect condition through delivery, and then they had a sale on the week it came out, so they honored the pre-order guarantee. The price is down by 20%. Here's $10 back. So I'm like,
Yeah.
great. I love when they
Crazy.
do that. But then you've got imprint releases, and all of those are like limited to 1,500 units for their slipcover versions. And that's a lot of the time. It's like that's the one where I'm like, I feel like that needs to be like day one. And that's either
Are you
do
big
I
into the imprint stuff? You got a good collection of that?
I don't have a large collection. I like buying their stuff,
Because
but
that's
it's
like your all's label, isn't it? That's like your
yeah, that's
criterion
like
almost.
a yeah, basically. I mean,
Yeah.
aside from like Umbrella, who are doing a lot of great releases now, and there's even Chameleon
I
Films who are small but they're growing.
I've got
Um,
some Umbrella stuff. I still haven't brought myself to get an imprint release. It's
the
just so
imprints
expensive
are
to get over here, but
yeah. I
I'm gonna
mean,
get Bug, the William Freakin film they just announced. I'm gonna get
mm,
that one for sure.
yeah, I'm waiting for the Jennifer Connelly set to come out because
Oh
they've
yeah, that
actually
was a
got it.
cool announcement. That was a
That's
cool
like it's
announcement
like
too.
5 cents cheaper on their website, but they've in Australia it's free delivery. So I'm like, I'll probably just buy it directly from them because I don't usually buy directly from Imprint because it's everything's usually $5 dearer on their website compared to
Yeah,
JB. It's like $30 at JB, 35 at
yeah.
Imprint for their standard
And
releases.
we've got a few sites over here that kind of do the importing for us, and they
Mm,
don't charge you an arm and a leg for shipping. And I've recently kind of gotten into those more, so it's more accessible to import
yeah,
now than it was for me.
yeah, but it's nice to have something like Imprint. I know not all of their transfers are perfect because sometimes just because they don't do the transfers themselves. Like if it's from Paramount, they'll be like, "Here's a 4K scan," but it's actually just a shitty scan that just
They
rendered in 4K, and
they
it's
still
not
haven't
that
done a
great.
4K, have they? Has Imprint done a
Imprint has
4K?
yeah, Imprinted War of the Worlds on 4K. It was
Yeah,
a
that's
steelbook.
right. They did do that one. Yeah.
That's the only release of theirs that I have every version because I'd missed out on the limited edition slipcover, so I got the standard release, and then I found the standard release, the limited edition release at Play Music DVD and they had it for like $40, which was actually not bad given it's usually a $30 Blu-ray. So I'm like, that's not bad because it goes for like 80 or 100 on eBay,
Yeah.
and that get the original artwork, get inside artwork, which is nice. And then like a month later, they're like, "Hey, here's the 4K UHD steelbook set," and I'm like, "You know what? I might do that." I was tempted for like Haunting of Julia because they didn't do a UHD. I went for Scream Factory, so I don't
Yeah.
always go hardcore on the brand. I'm like, it depends on the film and the transfer. If the film's not great, I won't bother. But if the transfer is like, I can get it better at this place, then I might do that instead, even if it's actually it was cheaper to get the Scream Factory of Haunting of Julia than to get the imprint, which I found very funny. But
Yeah.
imprint had like a hard case lenticular booklet CD. They had more special features. It's actually a really nice release that I hate that I haven't bought it yet, but it's like $60 to $70. I'm like, I can wait
The
or
Haunting of
not.
Julia one.
Yeah, the Haunted
Did
Julie
it
one.
did it have different features in the Scream Factory? Did it
Yeah,
have
they've got
more?
exclusive features. Some I think
Yeah.
exclusive commentary, but definitely featurettes that are exclusive, which is really nice. Plus the booklet and the soundtrack, which you didn't get from Scream Factory. So it's like, as a
Yeah.
comparison, it's a pretty. If they had a 4K UHD with Dolby Vision, I
It
would have
just
bought the
sucks, like, when you
import.
have that situation where it's like one release has all this, the other release
Yeah,
has this, and it's
and
like
then
you have to
the
decide.
Studio
It's almost like
Canal,
they are
hey, here's for the
collaborating
sequel.
to make you
Yeah.
buy them both or something.
Yeah, well then the Studio Canal were like, here's our version as well. It's the
Yeah.
full circle release. I'm like, I'm not even gonna bother with that one. So yeah, it's that can be very tricky, especially if you're importing. Do I go with the brand that I is local? Do I go with the brand that's imported, even though it's actually cheaper and it's a better looking version of the transfer, even if they're
They
basically
did that
identical?
with, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, got the 4K from Dark
Mm,
Sky over here,
that's the
with a
brand, yeah.
steel book and a slipcover, and then they got the
Yeah.
Second Sight one, and it's like I had to get both because
Mm,
they did the Dark Sky one, like, 2 months earlier, so I was like I
yeah.
just saw it at Best Buy, I was like, "I can't not get
Yeah,
this."
exactly. I
Freaking
I
Texas
know.
Chainsaw Massacre, and then I had to get the Second Sight one too.
Yeah, no, it's like I have that because I got that Texas Chainsaw release because I actually know some of the people who worked on it. So like
Yeah.
some of their essays, same as like the second site release of Martin. Like I'm friends with Alexander Heller Nicholas, who does some of the video essays and the
Oh,
even
nice.
just regular essays and stuff. And
For
like
Second Sight?
yeah, for second
Second
site,
Sight?
Arrow Video, a bunch like her. There's Lee Gambin. I know a bunch of them personally, and it's like it's really cool to have that because we're all like in a small film circle at the Cinemaniacs in Melbourne. So it's like we all just know each
Nice.
other. It's really cool, and they're like nice people. So it's like cool to have met people that you see their work on Blu-ray
Yeah.
releases. So Imprint does that. You've got Second Sight. You've got that kind of stuff. It's and that's convinced me to get a lot of their releases. Like I got Martin on their limited edition 4K because they came with a book with one section just written by Alexandra. I'm like, I want to
Yeah.
get it just for that, and then I
That was
still
a
really
nice
like the
release.
film.
I
Beautiful
got I
release.
got that one, but I still have not watched that one yet.
It's really interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, same as Texas Chainsaw. That one I was debating, but then I knew some of the people who'd written in it. I'm like, I kind of want to get it, but also I had so many releases of Texas Chainsaw. I saw it in like I think it was 16 or 35 mil because they had at the Astor Theater had a Toby Hooper like commemorative thing like after he passed away. It's a tribute screening for Texas Chainsaw, and that was the first time I'd gone to there. That's a single screen cinema that's in local to St Kilda. It's like the oldest cinema in Australia, I'm pretty sure, but
Yeah.
the fact that that's still up and running, good condition, one big screen, and they've still got film projection and digital projection. And I saw Texas Chainsaw there. I'd never gone to the place, and it was packed crowd, perfect like
Nice.
environment for that kind of a film on film. And it was like so disgusting and ugly. I'm like, this is beautiful. And I'm like, I've gotten the 4K Blu-ray releases since, and I was like, it doesn't capture the same feel. But then I don't know, Second Sight's one just had like the closest feeling I've ever had to an actual film print release. I'm like, this
It
looks
definitely looked
fantastic.
better. Definitely
It
looked
looks
better.
so good. And it's just got I mean, I had most of the special features anyway from their Steelbook release, and I'd even bought the Umbrella like limited edition release, which came with an O card and a day bill. And I'm like, why am I getting the Second Sight version? Because it's good. So
Yeah,
sometimes I
that
got a
was
cave.
yeah,
Yeah.
I can't pass up the Second Sights. It's almost like I don't even care what movie it is. It's like
Exactly. Look,
I haven't ordered the May and Frontiers ones
I've
that
got
came out yet.
I'm picking up May on Sunday. My friend ordered it
Yeah, they're
with
still in stock, so
Tangerine.
I kinda waited for 'em, but I
Hmm.
think I'm gonna go ahead and jump on them. And I pre-ordered It Follows, like, when it got announced. I was so freaking
I do
excited
want
for
to
that.
get It Follows. I know with
Um,
Crumbs of the Future, I was like, God damn it. I just got the Neon 4K and I'd gotten it from Amazon twice
yeah,
because the first release was terribly damaged. So I sent it back, bought it again, came in perfect. I'm like, wonderful. 2 weeks later, hey, Second Sight's doing their version. Like, you've got to be kidding me.
well, over here, I don't know if you all had the same they did the 4K of it over here
Hmm.
after they did the Blu-ray. I bought the Blu-ray, then they announced the 4K,
Yeah, we
and
had
it's like I
the
haven't watched the Blu-ray yet, so I'm not gonna jump on the second sight 4K until I watch it at least.
yeah,
But
we
that
had
artwork
them.
on that second sight is beautiful, so I might just jump on it anyway.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
don't know.
I know that we had because I'd seen it in cinema with a friend, and I was very had not watched many Cronenbergs, so it was very interesting to watch. And so they had the Blu-ray release in Australia for I think it was Madman had done a release of it, and it's very bare bones. I think it's like the same as like the US release, very bare bones. And I was like,
Yeah.
I don't really care to get it. Apparently, it's like it's okay, but I was like, I could get it on sale, but then they had Neon release their 4K release. I'm like, I'll get that instead because it's a 4K, comes with special features.
Yeah.
That's like beautiful. I'll get that. And of course, yeah, then you get, lo and behold, Second Sight doing what I love and hate at the same time.
Yeah.
So
And I feel like you'll be good on that one for a little bit. I don't feel like that one's gonna sell out immediately. I could be wrong, but I felt
it
like
could.
It
Yeah.
Follows would sell out.
I feel
So
like
I
it. Yeah,
jumped
I
on that
mean,
one quick.
I've only got a basic Australian release for It Follows. So I'm like, I think a 4K upgrade would be worth it. Same as The Witch, I got the 4K
Oh, yeah,
release of
hell
that
yeah,
because
yeah.
we only had a basic release in Australia. So, I know that had a 4K release in America, but it was like a
It
pretty
did,
touch and go
Lionsgate.
with its
For
like
some reason, I
transfer or
never
something.
had it because 'cause I'm, like, a massive fan of that movie. I love it.
Mm,
It's, like, my favorite horror film of the 21st century.
yeah,
Um, but I never got the 4K, so that Second Sight release was perfect for me
yeah.
when
No,
that came
it
out.
was it's a very nice release. So yeah, I've pretty much after that, I'm like, I'm gonna probably get as many of these Second Sight releases that I can get
Now did
because
you
they're
get
just so
the Drive
good.
box set? Because
The
that was,
which
like,
one?
the Drive box set. That
Yeah.
was, like, the ultimate release.
I I couldn't hold myself from that because 'cause I'm like, I've got
Yeah,
luckily, most of these, I had basic Australian ones, which had barely any special features, if any at all, and it's just a basic transfer on, 1080p,
yeah.
whatever, so I'm like, it's an immediate upgrade transfer, but then all the special
That's
features, the
I still
book,
think
all
that's one
that.
of their best looking 4Ks they've ever done
It's
too. The
it's a
thing looks
shockingly
stunning.
good release.
Yeah,
I got the Picnic at Hanging Rock release, even though I bought the, Criterion a few years back, so, like,
yeah.
I'm like, "I don't need this," but it does come with the original aspect ratio, and it's a 4K UHD. I know there's some DNR to it, but at the same time, it still looks really good. Like I compared the two
Yeah.
releases, and I really like the Second Sight release. So it's like,
That's still
yeah,
one I haven't jumped on yet. I need to.
I
I
really
need to
like
grab
that
one.
release.
That's a
If you
big chunky one too, isn't
it
it?
is
Because it
if
was more expensive than everything else. I'm like, why is this one so much more expensive? And then I saw
it
somebody show it off, and it was like this freaking big.
yeah,
Like, okay,
yeah, it's definitely big.
is it?
It's
It's
big.
comparable to the Drive one, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty similar in size. Not as I'd say not as creative as the Drive one because that one you got the whole slip out and everything. Whereas
Yeah,
it's more like the Texas Chainsaw 4K set that they have. It's basically identical to that, but it comes with a novel and an extra book that's of essays and stuff.
and
So
what I
yeah,
was trying to do with Second Sight is because they're so expensive. I was trying to just tell myself, okay, I'm only going to get it if it's a movie that I really love. I've seen it before. So The Guest came out. I've always loved that movie since it came
yeah,
out.
good
Got
for you.
that. Got Drive on 4K. Got The Witch, and now they've kind of just sucked me into getting. I try to get everything now that they
Yeah,
put out
I
because it's just
definitely
too nice.
I should definitely look into Frontiers because I got Tangerine and May, my friend had done an order. He did an order with me, and so I was like,
Tangerine's one. I wonder if that's still available in the hard box. That's one I missed
yeah,
out on. That's the same director as Florida Project, isn't it? That's
yeah,
Sean
Sean
Baker.
Baker, yeah.
Yeah.
So I like his film. So I'm like, oh, I wish they released Red Rocket on Blu-ray in Australia because we only got a DVD release of
Oh,
that, which
really?
didn't always
Yeah, I
be.
like that
Yeah,
movie too.
that was really fun. So it's like I just hate there's no Blu-ray. So hopefully Second Sight get a release of that because that could be really cool. But
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, yeah, still.
Um, do you find yourself buying more boutique releases or mainstream releases? You kind
I
of a
think
good mix of both.
I definitely say it's a good mix of both. I love buying the boutique releases, but it's always comes down to how expensive do I import all that kind of stuff. If I'm growing for Second Sight, I'll like wait till I can get like a few at once or whatever, so I can bulk buy it. Same as like Arrow Video, but then in even Arrow Video, I'll get like here's the limited edition version of the Lighthouse on 4K, and then also here's the standard version of you know Videodrome and these and the Howling 2. So I'm like, I'll just buy those with it. Why not? They're just standard releases. But
Yeah,
yeah, I
that
do.
Lighthouse 4K is one of my favorites of the year. That
Yeah,
one was great. The
it's a
Arrow
really
one,
nice set. I wasn't even planning on getting it because I have the steelbook that Xavier had, but I'm like, I mean, this does come with a 4K transfer, more special features,
new
just
documentary. Yeah,
yeah, all this stuff. So I'm like, why not? But yeah, but I also got like the Fear and Loathing 4K from theirs, which was still limited edition in the sleeve. And I'm like, well, it upgrades from my Cinema Cult edition from Australia, which is like exceptionally bare bones and not a great transfer. So
yeah.
yeah. But yeah, I think I definitely still buy a lot more standard releases like from JB or whatever than limited edition or boutiques. But I
Yeah.
still love buying the boutiques. I'll always prefer getting boutiques over standard releases.
Which label is your favorite at the moment? We can go with all time favorite, and then which one do you think is just killing it right now? And you're
I
definitely
think
looking out for what they do next.
I definitely think my favorite is Second Sight. I love the designs, I love the transfers, I love the box sets. I can, if I had more Vinegar Syndrome, I'd probably have them up there as well because from what I've gotten from them and what I've seen, theirs is
Yeah.
exceptional quality. Um, I feel like I put them two side by side compared to like Criterion and Arrow. I always put like have them butting heads because they usually have the same kind of releases, even if they've got slightly different packaging. And on the odd occasion, I'd go for an Arrow video over a Criterion because it's usually cheaper to get it, and I usually know the people who have worked on it. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, even the Australian labels seem distant in contrast in terms of quality, but it's more or less. I just don't get as many. Like they've just released, just announced Possession on 4K from Umbrella, and I'm
Oh
like,
yeah.
I
I just
kind
got
of
that
want to.
Blu-ray from them.
Yeah, I just got the Blu-ray as well last year, and I have the second sight as well. And I'm like, I don't need to get it, but it's a really nice bundle. Like they've gone all out with their bundle releases with the
Oh yeah,
postcards and
that freaking Weird
posters.
Al box set they
Yeah,
did,
I
and I
know
got
the
the one
Hawaiian
with
shirt.
the
Yeah,
Hawaiian shirt,
I
and
would have loved to have gotten it, but I decided against it because it was
even that Winnie the
$150.
Pooh Blood and Honey set, which
I
that
know
movie is not
it's
great, but
it's
that set's insanely awesome.
they've like drawn a weird line between like Vinegar Syndrome and Second Sight, where it's like they're doing like almost the same quality of releases, and it's really impressive, especially from an Australian label. So I love looking at that. But then I
Yeah.
even love, Imprint's still really fun to get. Like I got their Walter Hill box set, which is like sold out from the website, and it's a
Oh,
really
I
nice
wanted
set. So
that. That thing sold out quick.
yeah, like I was able to get it from JB at like for like $50-$60 less than retail price, which I was very happy
Nice.
with. But yeah, so yeah, I think Second Sight's my favorite of the brands, but also because
Good
every
answer.
release they have is just perfect.
Yeah.
I'll
And
always be happy with that.
I viewed Second Sight as kind of like, quality over quantity, but it feels like
Mm.
this year they've just been ramping it up and
Yeah, it's
doing like
shocking. Like
2,
last year, it
3,
felt like they had
4
four
awesome
releases. This year,
releases.
it's like here's 12 different releases. I'm like, oh
Yeah,
my
it's at
god.
least 2 like every month that I wanna get,
Yeah,
so it's like
it's
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 crazy with them right
it's
now.
insanely fun. Even just their standard hard case sets are like they're as good as the best like limited edition versions that Arrow has, and then they've got here are also our extremely deluxe versions. I'm like, this is insane. So it's
What's a movie that you would like to see Second Sight tackle next? What's like your top on your wish list that you
um
would love to see Second Sight do?
I actually have no idea. I honestly actually kind of thinking about with Sean Baker, I would love to see them do Red Rocket. That could be really fun. But like, I
Yeah,
don't know. I don't not really a wish list kind of person. Like, I just kind of go with what's coming out and just compare it to what has existed, what could exist. I don't like to look fortuitously like, oh look at I want this to be released. I'm not like in the comments section of every single Arrow video post saying, why haven't you released this on
"Why
Blu-ray?
haven't
I'm
you
like,
done this yet?
yeah, it's like
Oh,
I'm like, I don't
these are
they
coming
do the
out. Why didn't
releases.
you do these?"
Yeah, exactly. It's like the people who are
Well, that's
disappointed by
good.
those releases. I'm like, look, you do you, but I'm like, I might buy that one, but my hopes and dreams are just good quality stuff. I don't
Sounds like
care
you
what the
live in
film
a
is.
stress-free world.
I do my best.
So,
I
it
literally realized the other
life
day
is
that
stressful enough. You don't need to
man,
add on to it for
yeah,
sure
I
with
literally
stuff that you're
real
supposed to enjoy, right? We're all
mm,
supposed to enjoy this collecting thing
yeah,
in the
exactly.
movies, and
Yeah,
why add more stress onto it?
I realized to my colleague the other day, I was like saying, I think I've discovered the perfect life. Just if you don't have any stress, it's so easy. Because that's what my week has
Exactly.
been for the past week. I don't know, but also I think just the all the extra subscribers I've been picking up this week, it's just been like everything's going up Millhouse or whatever. So
Nice. Which is a
so yeah,
perfect reminder if you're watching this right now, still watching it, we're an hour and 37 minutes in this conversation, hit the subscribe button down below in the description.
yeah.
So steelbooks or I was going to say steelbooks or slipcovers is a question I usually ask, but it doesn't seem like you're a slipcover kind of person. But if you get a good slipcover,
Um,
like in a Vinegar Syndrome, would you rather have that or would you rather have a good steelbook?
Uh, I feel like I'm actually really surprisingly leaning more towards slip covers over steelbooks these days because I've just kind of gotten out of the steelbook game to a degree. I buy the random steelbook here and there, but I've never been a stickler for slipcovers. I understand how picky people can be
Yeah.
about them, and I understand completely. I've gotten a
Well,
bunch
they
of
haven't
US.
conditioned you all as much in that because you
No,
say that most of your releases don't even come with them anyway,
yeah,
so
exactly. Like I think the only release I've ever been annoyed by from Australia was they had the Mummy, the Brendan Fraser trilogy, and they had 3 different releases. I ordered them in to pick them up, and the third film had a slipcover. The other two didn't. And then I went to
mm,
the shelf, and they had the
the
second
hell?
film with a slipcover, and I'm like, oh hey, can I swap these out? And it took an extra half an hour because the barcodes were different, which I found insanely weird. But then they didn't have the first one on slipcover, so it's like now I just don't have a slipcover for that.
Yeah,
But I
that
don't
gets
like being
irritating.
I don't like being very picky about slipcovers, but I can understand the quality of them. Like again, you get a good slipcover, that's great. But for me, I don't care about embossing or debossing or all that stuff with sleeves. For me, it's artwork quality. If the artwork on the sleeve is different to the artwork on the inside, that's really fun. I like when you can open up a case, change around the artwork. Here's one artwork like that matches the sleeve. Here's artwork that's like an original poster or something
Yeah,
else. I'm like,
reversible slipcover, yeah.
I love those sets. Those are really fun to me. If it's just a here's the sleeve, it's the exact same as the artwork underneath. There's no alternate. Then I'm like with like the recent Avatar releases, I'm like that's kind of boring. But like I
Mhm.
appreciate them existing. But it's like But I haven't had too many that have come in exceptionally damaged or anything, except for maybe some corners be compressed in from the shrink wrap. Except for the
Nice.
Crimes of the Future release, I had that, and someone had like there was 3 faces on it, and someone had like scratched out someone's face, and it was just a hole. And I'm like, this feels targeted. Like, what the hell
Why?
is this? So
Why
that
would
was
you
from
do that?
Amazon.
That's slipcover
It
abuse.
was I was actually like, look, if the slipcover was the only thing damaged, I would keep it. But because the case itself had been crushed, I'm like, I'm sending
Mm.
this back and getting a new one.
Oh, yeah, hell
But
yeah, man. You have a good
yeah, I can
collection.
understand sleeves. Like again, you've even got like hard cases like with Arrow Video and Second Sight and whatever. It's like I like those as well. Like if you're keeping in a whole collection of stuff, I appreciate that. So yeah, I do like. I think I'm definitely prefer slipcovers nowadays over steelbooks, but I'm not overly fighting for them because we don't have them as a commonality in Australia. They're just
Nice.
occasionally there on a 4K release, and I'm like, hey, cool, you know. But then I think I got the shock release of Cujo like a year or two ago, and I was like, they had the slipcover. It was like limited edition. I'm like, that's cool. It's got some embossing, same artwork on the regular case. Went to get it, they only had the standard Blu-ray. And yet every year since, I've still seen that slipcover version on the shelves, and I'm like, why don't I just grab that instead? But then it's like it's just cardboard. It doesn't matter that much.
Yeah.
The the only ones I'd argue that for would be Australia wise, either uh, Umbrella with usually they've got good artwork on their sleeves, especially if it's an exclusive O card like my Texas Chainsaw release, or Imprint, who like half of the battle is getting the limited edition because it comes with a sleeve and different artwork on the inside, and
Yeah.
that's really nice. I love that about their releases. So
Yeah, for
yeah,
sure. Do you do a lot of blind buying? And what would you say is the percentage? Do you buy a lot of movies you haven't seen?
I had to probably say 80% of the movies I buy I haven't seen.
Is
Because
is that is that part of the fun of it for you? Like this whole collecting and
I
watching
mean,
movies,
it
kind of
can be. It's
because this
definitely
kind of starts as just getting the movies that you love, right? And then it just kind
yeah,
of turns into something more. You want to discover more.
yeah.
So that to me, that's the enjoyable part of it.
It's definitely an interesting contrast because like I with these Disney films, I had a bunch of animated features I'd never seen. I hadn't seen Sleeping Beauty or Dumbo, so I got the standard releases in Australia, and it was like they were $8 a pop. It was easy peasy, nice transfers, all that kind of jazz. But then like Roadhouse, contrast that $80, a film I've never seen, is it worth the money? And luckily, because the set was also so amazing, the transfer was so great, to be fair, I still really like the film. So it's like I try to do my best to actually like what I'm watching, but there are
Yeah.
some films where it's just like I got Mars Attacks. I'm like, oh, I've heard this is kind of campy and fun, and I'm like, yeah, this is like not the good kind of campy and fun. This should have been
Oh
like
no, you don't like
it,
Mars
no,
Attacks?
it's got some elements I enjoy, but it's like this should have
I
been a
was I
Joe
was 10
Dante
when I
film.
watched that for the first time, so
It was
it's
it for me, it's like this feels like it should have been a Joe Dante film, not a Tim
mhm.
Burton film. Like I can see why he liked it, like why he wanted to adapt the
Yeah.
source material of playing cards, but like I would have preferred someone else take the reins of this. So That's $20 I'm not getting back. But I
Yeah.
have it. I'm happy to have it at least, you know.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just gotta
And
be
you
happy
never
with what
know,
you
you
got.
could watch it in 10 years and just turn into the biggest Mars Attacks fan because
Yeah,
you're gonna
exactly.
you're
I
gonna
could be
be a
like, this
different
is
person in 10
yeah,
years.
exactly. So
So
it's like I do like that. That's probably the most fun thing about buying films where I'll be like, I could watch a film and be like, yeah, it's fine. I had fun. It's a nice transfer or whatever. But then I could, yeah, watch it in a couple months or in a year's time and be like, this is really fun. Like you've got behind you the Resident Evil set. Like I've got
mhm.
those films as well. It's like I had watched them all. I'd watched a few growing up when they came out in like TV as a kid, but then uh, I watched them all on Blu-ray a couple of years back, and I'm like, I'm very iffy about a couple of them. I love Retribution. It's my favorite of those films. It's one of my favorite films, like in general, because it's
Which
just
one
so
which
much
one was
fun.
that one? Was that, like, the 5th
That's
one or
the
something?
yeah, the fifth one, the second last one. That's just where it's like
They
they
all
just
blur
go
together for me
into a
after the 1st.
simulation, and it's
Yeah.
just that's it. I'm like, this is great. It's like
I
all
need
the
to
best
rewatch
bits of the
them.
previous films.
I waited forever to grab that, and I think
Mm,
it went down to, like, $35 on Amazon,
damn, that would be good.
for, like, a Black Friday sale, so I snatched it up then because it went out of stock for a long time, but
Mm.
yeah.
I've just got the standard Australian release, but the Australian release comes with 9 films. It comes with the animated films as well, which is kinda cool. So I was like and I got
Yeah,
that on sale, so I was like, "That's pretty good for 9 films." But I'd
nice.
watched it with my brother because he really wanted to watch them, and I'm like, "Yeah, cool." So, like, he hadn't seen most of them before, or he hadn't seen them for, like, 10 or so years, and he's like, "These are really bad." And I'm like, "They're bad, but they're good if you understand what they're doing." You know,
Yeah,
it's like a tongue in cheek kind of fun nature to them that I'm like, they're not quality films, but they're also kinda are, you know? It's
yeah.
like with Vinegar Syndrome with their releases, like, these are, like, not great films, but at the same time, they kind of you know, there's, like, an essence to them that you can really
You can
appreciate.
appreciate any movie on
Yeah.
some, you know, in some way, you know?
Yeah, so on I a lot of the joy of buying these films is seeing them on rewatch and being like, it's a lot more fun the second time around, or I don't know, like I got Big Lebowski on 4K and I did not care for that film when I first watched it. I'm like, I don't get it. It's not that interesting. And then I bought the Blu-ray from the UK for that, and then I ended up getting the 4K Australian release, and I'm like, this film is the funniest shit I've seen in such a long time. Like, I'm
Yeah,
like, this is great.
I like The Big Lebowski, but I've never been able to fully, like, connect it's not my favorite Coen Brothers movie, I'll just say
Mm,
that. Probably wouldn't even be in my top 5, but, I've only probably seen it maybe 2 or 3 times, so maybe it's time for me to sit down and rewatch that one at some point.
yeah, it's just interesting seeing that. Like, I've got a friend who, my mate Guy, him and I met because not we met at uni, but my friends were sick that day, whatever, and he was there, and he was a guy in class, a film class we had in my first year of uni, and I was like, this guy is so annoying. He won't stop talking about how good Alien 3 is. I'm like, what are you talking about? Everyone says it sucks. What's wrong with you? And then I had like an hour conversation with him. I'm like, you know what? This guy's actually pretty cool. You know, I realized that like
I mean, it
he
is
had
a
a different
Fincher film.
he had a different yeah, I mean, true, yeah, but, he had a different approach to, like, how he looks at a lot of films, and I was like it helped me to, like, open up my mind to looking at films differently,
Yeah.
so a lot of the films I have are because he suggested, "You gotta get this one, it's, like, got this really great sequence," or, "The directing's great here, the score is amazing," like, most of my Michael Mann collection is just because he said, "You should get Michael Mann films." So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just that's a lot of fun to
It is
get,
cool
so
when you start talking to, other like-minded people who love movies and you start
yeah.
getting different perspectives, and then you realize that film really is subjective. Everybody's
Yes,
been telling you
definitely.
that, but
Yeah.
it is. Everybody has their own, likes and dislikes, and,
Mm.
sometimes you do get in this bubble of, "Oh, this movie's bad because everybody says it's bad." And
I yeah. I used to be like that in high school because I used to also watch like stupid channels like Cinema Sins and whatnot, and I'm like, yeah, this movie's just bad or whatever. It's like, and believe the Rotten Tomato reviews and shit, and it's like,
I never knew
actually,
everybody hated Jason Takes Manhattan until I got on the internet.
I only knew it was a film that people didn't like, but the thing is, when I saw it, I was like, this is just like Alien, and I kind of dig it. It's like Jason on
Mhm.
a boat killing people, and then he goes to
That's why I
Manhattan and
always
screws
loved it.
around.
But everybody
It's
wants to complain that, "Oh, he's only in Manhattan for 30 minutes." I'm like, "Yeah,
I'm
but
like,
you just got an
"Can
awesome slasher movie on a boat for, like,
yeah,
an hour
exactly."
and
I'm like,
15
"This is"
minutes. What are you
I
complaining
really
about?"
enjoyed it. I'm like, "This is quite
Yeah.
fun," you know? It's not my favorite of the Jason films, but it's
No.
Jason's my favorite slasher series, so it's
Actually,
like
it's in my
yeah.
top 3, but it is one of my
I
favorites, but it's just because I always loved that one. I watched it all the time when I was a kid. That one and Jason Goes to Hell too, which
I've
everybody Uh,
Weirdly, I've never seen it. I'm like, I don't know if I want to
yeah.
go in that hole. I've got the Scream Factory release. I
Don't
need to
listen to
watch
the
it.
haters. It's my second
I'm
favorite, but that one in
interesting.
Manhattan they're both very nostalgic. I would never say that they're better quality than some of the earlier ones, but
Mm.
I
Well,
just
look,
love
I
them.
I don't understand how people like the first one. I'm like, this movie's just not great. Like, it has some fun effects
The
and
first one
kills, but
grows on me every time I watch it. It really
I
does.
don't.
It's got such like atmosphere to it.
It
I don't know.
definitely does.
Unlike
Yeah,
any of the other ones, characters
yeah.
kind of suck,
Well, it's
um,
the Friday films. If they don't suck, what's the point?
but beyond that, I don't know. I like the way it makes me feel when I watch it. It just makes
Yeah.
me feel unlike all the other ones.
Yeah, I mean, we remember watching them because I had watched them all in a marathon at one stage, and I got to the final chapter, which is that and the second one are like my favorite two. But then you get to was it is the New Blood or the one that comes right after, and where it's
Yeah,
like
New
Jason's
Blood.
technically a ghost, and I'm like, this is bad. But then I watched it with friends, and we're like, this is actually really fun with friends because
I
it's just
love the fifth one.
people get killed every 2 seconds. Oh look, here's some naked people. Now they're dead. It's that's so much fun in that essence of it. And I'm like,
To
yeah,
me,
that's cool.
that's one of the most consistent horror franchises. I actually think they're all pretty great, and I have a good
Yeah,
time with all of them. None of them piss me off like movies in the Halloween franchise do, at least.
yeah. No, I think that and like Nightmare on Elm Street, I really enjoy those
Yeah,
as
I like
slasher
all those too.
franchises. Yeah,
Yeah,
like Nightmare still has like you still got Freddy's Dead, and it's like, well, it's not great, but it's fun, I guess. Like I love the
yeah.
surrealist elements of it, so
A lot of
that's
those I
always fun.
remember watching when I was a kid, so I just kind of grew up with them. So like Freddy's
Yeah,
Dead, I love just because
yeah.
that's what I watched all the time when I was a
I
kid.
watched most of them
That
in
one
my
and Dream
teens, or
Master,
yeah,
I love.
yeah. I like the Dream Master one too. Yeah, but
Yeah.
yeah, Halloween's an interesting one. It's always been an interesting series
So
because
there's
like,
some of those movies anger me, like the Rob
uh,
Zombie one
well,
angers me.
I actually I like the Rob Zombie ones. Weirdly, my
Yeah,
friend
a lot of
thinks that
people
the
do.
second one is the best Halloween film.
I
Like
like
what
his
the
second one. I like his
I
second one a
think it's
lot.
interesting.
I hate the origin story. It's like he is evil personified. Don't explain him. It
I
pisses me
don't.
off every time.
Weirdly, I don't like the second half of the first Rob Zombie film. I love the first half. Like, I
Yeah.
love the first half where he's a kid and he's getting like all this shit. I'm like, this is like really interesting. Like, if you
Yeah. It's an
kind of have a
interesting
disconnect
take.
between, yeah, it's like I find it really interesting. I like the style, but then the rest of it's just like, what if Rob Zombie just tried to remake the original Halloween?
Yeah.
I'm like, why are you doing this? You could do anything else.
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
uh, it's definitely an interesting series of films because everyone is someone's least favorite. Every one of them is someone's favorite, except for I think the first one, which most people like. This is the undisputed classic. There's no touching this. Everything else is either bad or good. And I'm like,
Mhm. Yeah, the
yeah,
first
no.
2 for me are pretty untouchable.
See, I don't like the second one that much, but I've only seen it the once and I didn't like it. But I've
Yeah.
would like to
I've
rewatch that
always
second
watched
one
the
on
first one
4K.
and the second one as one movie because when I was
Yeah,
a
that
kid, they
probably would
both took
help.
place on the same night, and I just always
Yeah.
watched them every Halloween together. So I kinda just think of them as one movie together.
Yeah, for me, it's like
Um,
the first and third one are my favorites. Like, I love the third one. I know people hate
yeah.
it because there's no Michael Myers.
I
He's
hated it
there.
when I was
He's
a
on the
kid.
TV. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
because I was like, I popped it in hoping it's looking to see Michael Myers. Oh, what's
Yeah,
the continuation of Michael Myers' storyline? And then what the hell is this? And
yeah.
I did not like it at all, but I love it now. I think it's
Yeah,
great.
I've always loved it since I saw it because I'm like, I knew it didn't I knew it was like, the black sheep of the films, and I'm like, I gotta watch this. And watching it, I'm like, this is fun. Like, it's got a great atmosphere, the score is fantastic. The
I
the, the
think it's
whole
John Carpenter's
ending,
best score. I love the
it's
music in it.
the ending of it is probably one of my favorite endings to a film. Like, you can't
Mhm.
beat that. I know the first film's iconic, but it's like, come on, the third one is the most depressing ending you could possibly
Yeah.
have for
I
a
know some
Halloween
people
film.
that hold the 3rd one up as the best of the franchise.
I think it's my favorite. It's arguably the best, but it's probably the first one is probably still the best. It's hard for me to say because I know my mate
Yeah.
would still say it's the second Rob Zombie film. So I'm like, hey, look, we all have our opinions. Like,
I do like that one. I do like
yeah,
that one.
but like you look at the modern trilogy with like Halloween Ends. People didn't like Halloween Ends. They hated it, and I'm like, I watched it, and
I
I was
was
like,
fine with it.
I actually really liked it. I'm like, this is like my fourth favorite of these
I
Halloween
just wanted
films.
them to go all the way with what they set up, and it felt like they kinda chickened out on it at the end and
I
just
just like
made
how
it a
it's
basic
something.
Laurie versus Michael ending.
Yeah, I don't like the ending that much with the whole Laurie versus Smoke. I'm like, I don't give a crap by that stage.
Yeah,
Them
I
killing
wanted
him,
Corey
I don't
Cunningham to
whatever.
win.
I loved the Corey stuff. I loved how the film's like, let's do something completely different that hasn't been set up. I'm
But
like,
I
this is
had checked
great.
out of those movies by the time we got to that one because I hated Halloween Kills so
Yeah, exactly.
much.
I didn't like Halloween Kills that much either. Like, sure, the kills are fun, but the
So
story's crap.
when we
So
went into Ends, I was just like, whatever, who
yeah,
cares? So I was
I'm
just
like,
open to
as
whatever they did.
yeah, as long as I have fun, that's good enough. And I had a lot of fun with it. So I'm like, look, I can see
Yeah,
why people hate it, but it's like for me, I really like it. But that's
yeah,
still subjective.
for
But yeah,
sure.
so it's an
All right,
interesting one.
man. Well, I've had you for almost 2 hours now, so we're gonna look to
Mm,
wrap up here pretty soon. And I appreciate your time.
yeah.
Have come on here and talking with me. But I wanted to get into just one last question before I let you off. Why is physical media important to you? Owning movies physically. Why is that important? And do you see it as something that's going to stick around for a while? Everybody wants to talk about the
Oh.
death of physical media. I know
I
it's a
still think
two-part question.
I still think it'll definitely stick around for a while. I mean, you look at boutique brands, that's their whole shtick. You can't get Criterion without physical media. So it's like, it's definitely going to stick around. I think it'll have its ups and downs. It always has. But I definitely think, despite Disney pulling out, it's still going to work. It's still going to exist. And I mean, I just like buying them because I just like owning I just like owning films, like at least a physical copy. For me, it's my look at my shelf of figurines or my collection of art
Yeah.
that Van Gogh did or whatever. It's like for me, it's films. And I still have the essences of I like to get a film that has a good transfer and has maybe good artwork or a good quality to it that's not just a good version of the film. So I can still be particular, but yeah, I just like having it. It's obviously there's still the fun part that's always in the back of my mind of, hey, look at all these films I have.
Yeah.
So there's always the wow factor, which is very fun to surprise and impress people. But yeah, it's just nice having them. It provides me with joy that I haven't gotten from a lot of other stuff. So it's like, I don't get joy collecting CDs. I still get them because I like music. So yeah, it's just really nice to have them. It's nice to explore different things because as much as I like reading books, I don't do it that often because I prefer watching movies. I find there to be appeal to movies that books don't have because I don't know, I don't care to imagine stuff. I do, but
Yeah.
but no, it's like I still have a whole bookshelf as well. So I like reading the
I
essays.
wish I would read more. I used to
I
a
do
lot when I was a
too.
kid. I just don't do it anymore.
Yeah,
Feel
that's the
like a
same.
big dummy these days.
I read a lot enough essays from like these releases that I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
still keeping up. I'm reading tweets. Does that count? So
Yeah. Yeah. I get
yeah,
some form of reading
yeah. But I still like
for
collect
sure.
like box sets for books and stuff. Like I got like of all series, a series of unfortunate events. I grew up on the series. I absolutely adore it. I got the whole all of it on paperback or hardcover actually because I just love the series. So it's like I'll get the occasional really good CD release, like Blondie's release I had like a year or so ago. I got that's like what 6 albums or something. So
Yeah.
because I just like her music, it's like there's
Have you
just an
all gotten
essence.
into the vinyl? Because vinyl has kind of come back a little bit. Do you all do that, or you're all still kind of on CDs
Oh,
over there?
vinyl is really popular here.
Yeah.
It's kind of always been popular here, but now especially since it became huge the past couple of years, like I still have colleagues who buy vinyl. I'm like, that's cool, and I'd love to. I'd love to get soundtracks, but I can't be bothered. I've got a whole range of vinyl here that my dad owns, and it's like it's cool to have them, but it's like I just
It's
don't
hard to be
bother,
collecting for all that stuff,
and it's
movies and
exceedingly
music at the same
expensive.
time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like you look at how much a vinyl costs, it's like that's ridiculous that it
I
costs so
just
much.
started to get into it a little bit, and I'm like, I really got to make sure this doesn't turn into something crazy. I'm like, maybe
Mm,
one or two every few months, and that's it.
yeah.
Because I got the Reanimator score, and I got the thing from Waxwork Records over
I
here,
know those
and
look
they were
so
nice.
good. I'd
Yeah.
love to get them, but it's even like my dad, who again grew up collecting vinyl. He's like, "Oh, I collect them now, but because of how expensive they are, in contrast to when he was a kid buying them or a teenager buying them, it's
Yeah.
like it's just not worth it." But I mean, look, if it's your thing, it's your thing. I buy movies that cost $80 for one film. Sometimes we just do stupid things. So
Yeah. If it's
yeah,
what you love, I mean, you're only here for a short time. Do what you
yeah,
want.
and if I'm using
Have a
that
good
time
time.
watching movies, that's what I'm doing.
You're not here for a long time. You're here for a good time. So
Yeah,
make the
yeah,
best of it.
yeah.
But man, I appreciate you coming on and kind of sharing your story with me. And it was good to have a different perspective. I talked to a lot of people in the US about collecting
Mm,
habits, but felt like I got some different stuff from you, some different answers. So I appreciate you coming on and
Yeah.
talking with me. And I definitely encourage everybody to subscribe to Julian's channel. I will link it down below in the description. And I'll let you promote yourself one more time before we get off of here. The floor is yours, sir.
Yeah, you can subscribe to Collector Creations. We've almost got 1,000 subscribers as of recording, which is just really fun for me. I don't know. It's a cool big number. It's nice. And you can follow me on Facebook. It's the only other social I really use. I have Twitter, but I don't know. That's as downhill as it gets. So it's like I don't really try to use it that much. And YouTube. So
Nice.
yeah, that's good.
I think I cut you out there for like 1 second.
That's
I
all right.
messed up.
It's just Facebook and YouTube. It's all good.
Yeah, Twitter sucks, or I think it's like X now or something. Then they changed the name.
I
What's
don't bother
going
with
on?
that stuff. I'm like, I'll go on it. I'm not cool on it. Whatever they want. It's Twitter. It's a bird. It's nothing else.
Yeah, absolutely. I get it. But again, appreciate you coming on. Appreciate everybody watching us. You know, if you're watching this right now, definitely leave us a comment on our conversation if you have anything to comment, and make sure you like the video. And again, subscribe to Julian's channel. That link is down below in the description, and we will see you guys later.
All right.